when the politicians keep politicking before you turn to excessive drinking. Spend some time collectively politinkering with the show where I don't know, man. Cause the truth is, I don't know, man.
Maybe I should just want to stand.
I
Just stupid.
I don't know, man.
I'm not gonna stand. I don't think my thing reaches.
I feel like there's going to be more yelling if we stand.
We should take turns. I'll stand.
Sean has the couch. Hello, all my Politinkerites out there in podcast land. Welcome back to Politinkering. This is your host, Sean Fau. And joining us, as always, is Joseph Bonier.
Hey-o.
Man, my fat fingers. I can't hit one button at a time.
That's okay. I got double.
God. And as always, Mr. Sean O'Brien.
What's up, man?
Yay.
I want to go first next time.
You think that'll change your sound effect?
Totally, it does. First one always gets the clap. The second one, you do the fucking thing with.
It's a great point, and it's a comedic timing thing, isn't it? Because it's like the third. You know, it's like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Sure.
And joining us on Skype again, Mr. James Edward Stahl.
Howdy, y'all.
Is it Edward?
It is Edward.
Oh man, I nailed that one. All right.
You know his middle name?
Well, I was the head of his
cool.
presidential campaign.
Oh,
so,
there we go. That's right.
Wow.
Can you hear me okay? I'm standing.
Yeah.
Do I sound different?
You sound like you're standing.
Sound more authoritative.
Do I really?
No.
It's just that you're looking down on me, so I
So
feel.
just you feel
Yeah,
less.
you know.
I'm
that,
sorry.
That whole status thing.
I'll sit soon.
No, I don't care. You do what you do, man.
I
You
don't know
do
why
what
I'm standing.
you
It's
do.
the weirdest thing. I just feel like standing right now.
Because,
Maybe it'll bring a different thing.
well,
You didn't even have to say it. I mean, but yeah, okay. It's just not a visual medium.
Well, it does help with certain things, such as apparently being funny. So what is funny? What is comedy? What makes us laugh? Why do we laugh? Is it involuntary? Is there a mathematical formula for it? Are comedians the new philosophers? Are they the atheist preachers? Do they serve a purpose, or is it purely entertainment? What is comedy? What is funny? That's not funny.
That was really funny. That was
That
good.
worked
Come on.
really
I
well,
just fucking
actually.
jumped in and hit that
a
shit.
little forced.
It wasn't forced. It was perfect. Nobody expected that.
Oh no, that it's forced made it kind of funny.
Yes, exactly.
It's
Exactly.
Not, it's not Sideshow Bob with the rakes yet, but it's on that way.
Well, as we all know,
Well, then why? Why was it funny?
because we explained it.
What? No.
Comedy's always funnier when you explain it.
Yes.
Comedy's.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
He's joking.
Oh, he is?
Yes.
Is sarcasm funny?
I don't know. What
To
is
me, it
sarcasm?
is.
I have no idea.
You don't know what sarcasm is?
No.
He's being
idea.
sarcastic.
Oh, that's good. That's
Please tell
funny.
me.
Please tell
Fucking
me now.
Einstein
Depends
over
on,
here.
how, depends on how. Hey, it's funny. See, that's funny.
Hey, it's a
Maybe
callback.
like East Coast
Callbacks
thing.
are funny.
That's a
Funny voices are funny.
Only if they're funny.
Hell yeah.
So who was it? I feel like it was Pete Holmes. I think said
The famous Pete Holmes, because everyone knows Pete Holmes
The
outside of the
notorious.
podcasting industry.
I didn't specify that he was famous or you had
The
to know.
alt-
I
the
just
alt
referenced
comedian.
him.
Pete
The
Holmes.
way that you pulled that name was like it was, off of Mount Olympus or something. I
was
think it
just
was
saying
Zeus
it.
who once said it.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
I believe the great Pete Holmes once told us from upon the mountain.
Motherfucking ballbusters, man. Just fucking said the guy's name. So, so I didn't sound like I was coming up with this. I was just crediting
What
him
did Pete Holmes say,
for
Sean?
him. Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I don't even fucking remember now. You fucking... God damn it. I think it was a question of expectation is the enemy of comedy. Right. So in other words, if it's the less expected it is, it can trend toward humor.
Oh, gotcha.
I think that's a good starting point.
So going against expectation
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the key to
Unpredictability.
comedy.
Yes.
Sure, but I still think there's an element of in taking that subversion. I think there's an element of truth to all comedy as well. Whether it's like pointing out an esoteric thing and based on society, or just as simple as something as like farts are funny.
Well, is it a question of truth or relatability?
I mean, I think
Because I could be like, so
Sure.
stars are big. Like that's true. It's like, but if I was like your mom, your mom's a star. For some reason, that's slightly funnier.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is a star. What? That's not funny.
Because she's fat.
No, because she's a wonderful,
She's
wonderful saint woman.
Oh, I see.
How dare you?
She's the star of Joseph's movie.
She actually might be. I'm making a documentary.
Sorry, James. Though I cut you off. So you were saying there's an element of truth in all comedy.
Yeah, no, I think it's just an element of juxtaposition that can that can say something that is both relatable but also true. Like and I don't think necessarily that like every joke is somehow in its own way like super profound. There are dumb jokes too that completely work for the same exact reasons.
But there's elements of truth.
What is the
to them.
reason though? What's the purpose of a joke?
What is the purpose of a joke?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just to make somebody laugh, and I think that making somebody laugh is not always equal along all situations because it's so experiential based, right?
Well, the laugh is measurable though. So I mean, regardless of the intent of making someone laugh, the laugh in and of itself is, if that's the intent, then that's the intent.
It's the goal.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the goal.
Okay. So is there no other goal to humor then? Or
No,
is it
no,
just to make
there's
somebody laugh?
Happiness, like,
Well,
overall happiness.
Is all laughter involuntary?
Is all laughter involuntary?
Yeah. I mean, to be funny, does it need to be involuntary laughter?
What do you mean? To be funny, does the response need to be involuntary, you mean?
Essentially, yeah. Does to qualify as funny, does it need to be
Well,
empirically funny?
No, but you don't have to laugh to make something funny.
Yeah,
right?
if you
can
have
read
laughed, something
that's-
is empirically funny. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, you can read something and not laugh, but in your head it registers like that's hilarious.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you've laughed, then something was funny.
It's like the old comedian sitting in the back of the Comedy Store and saying that's funny instead of actually laughing at things.
All comedian,
Yeah.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Every comedian is doing that.
Just very jaded.
Right.
And
That's
there's
the funny
tons
word. It's
of-
not so much jaded, it's just you've seen it.
There's tons
And
of
it is funny.
unintentional humor. Unintentional humor. I'm saying that.
You said it right the first
Okay,
time.
yeah. I don't know what's wrong with me. But yeah, but that doesn't usually make me laugh or other people laugh. It's always just like, holy crap, there's so much funny stuff around us that we really should be looking at and observing.
Is there a math to it?
I don't think there's a math to comedy or funny necessarily, but there probably is a math to jokes or telling a joke.
Well, do you know what this? You guys know what the secret?
rhythms.
Yeah.
You know what the secret to comedy is, though, right?
I don't know.
Being funny?
I don't know. Tell us.
No, but like there's a.
Yeah, I was gonna say timing.
But there's also.
I got Sean.
Well done.
I got Sean.
But what I was saying is like also one of the reasons why a lot of comedians like use the word fuck a lot is because like hard K sounds tend to hit punchlines a lot harder. And they actually add like an emphasis. They're basically an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Very much so. I think there is a real a math to it. We talked a little bit about this on the other show, TBC, with Eric the Wheelman Wheeler, in that if you say something in the cadence of a joke, people feel compelled to laugh, whether or not there's any comedy involved at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can elicit that laughter without it actually being genuinely funny.
Oh, and if you watch stand up, there are comedians that you can see you can work straight rhythms. If you watch Jerry Seinfeld do stand up, he has a very specific rhythm that is designed to make people laugh.
Ba ba ba
And-
ba 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 ba
I mean, I think
ba 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 ba.
I think Seinfeld's
Jerry's
hilarious, but
Wow,
I
yeah.
get why like people wouldn't be that that big of a fan.
Yeah. Well, so, we still didn't answer the question. Like, what is the purpose, though? Is it just laughter and happiness, or is there something else to it? You said there is something else.
I mean,
to
to
it,
put a
Joey.
little ray of sunshine into someone's life.
Well, sure, but the end result. If the end result is still getting someone else to laugh, or is not, it can't. If you do have to laugh, obviously not. If something's still funny, it's fine.
Can make
So
you
then
think, make you, yeah.
Yeah, but, like-
okay, sure, yeah,
Right? Okay. There's
Oh,
some-
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it.
I mean, there's definitely dark. There's
But
dark.
like the etymology
there's-
of the etymology of like joking, right, is like basically going back to like the Joker or whatever, like the
Batman?
clown of the court in regards to like kings and stuff like that. And yes, they were meant to be like entertainment, but they were the one person that was allowed to make fun of the king to its face.
right.
Right.
and he would almost never get. They would never get punishment. The only thing he had to do was actually be funny.
Right.
Yeah.
The fool.
He could say whatever he wanted as long as he was actually being funny.
Right. I mean, well, that's kind of an interesting. If we go into Shakespeare's fools, I mean,
exactly.
The ironic part of that kind of it is a question of enlightenment. It is a question of thinking within that. So so you're able to kind of explore the deeper questions by way of comedy.
Do you think that life overall has gotten it sounds weird, funnier over time? Do you think we've got we appreciate comedy more over time? Do you think there's a general trend of that? Do you think specific cultures are more endeared toward comedy? I don't know.
There's definitely cultures that are more.
Sure.
Well, that's an obvious question. You're true, but I don't know. This is the first question.
You don't see a whole lot of Muslim stand-ups.
But is there? I don't know. Were there more jokes being told?
It was the Axis of Axis of Evil comedy tour.
Yeah.
I guess
but that was like all of them.
I understand what you're. Yeah, I know. I understand. And they also weren't. I mean, they were Muslim. They weren't in a Muslim country necessarily.
Right.
I guess I mean in Shakespeare's era. I mean or whatever, or even back before that. In
he didn't exist.
Yeah. In oh no. What
is gonna toss that shit out like I'm not gonna say something.
That was a sword across. Okay, never mind.
Lays his dick out.
The gauntlet has been thrown.
Holy
shit!
Fuck was that?
That was the worst insult you could ever say to Sean O'Brien. Okay,
it was an insult. Just some.
You
bullshit.
can't insult the bard. I mean, in your presence.
Oh, okay. If you have some basis for it, by all means.
I will not. Anyways, what I was saying was
Fuck
that
out of here.
Wait,
Okay.
Shakespeare is the bard?
Yes.
right? Yeah,
Well, any
I thought
poet
bards were
is
singers.
No.
Okay.
they're like
That's a
poets?
chanteuse or a chanteur would be a singer.
a troubadour.
Sean O'Brien.
A bard. Any poet is a bard,
Ah.
but like Shakespeare is known as the bard because he is
Gotcha.
the poet.
I know.
Shakespeare at his core was a poet. He was just an amazing dramatist as well, but he was his poet. He was a storyteller. He was the greatest
Drama
fucking
queen.
storyteller ever.
He was really good at hockey too. Little known.
Really good at hockey.
Really good at hockey.
Really good at
He could have played on the
Ice
Edmonton
hockey.
Oilers with Gretzky.
before Canada.
We're talking 80s Gretzky, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Okay.
I don't know what that joke is.
It is not a good joke. You can
non sequitur. That's
Yeah.
a form of comedy.
I don't even understand what you're trying to like. Where is the funny?
I want to
in
go
what
back
you're
to
thought
what
it
I
was
was
funny,
saying.
Joseph.
Thank you.
Sure. Go ahead.
Anyways,
Because I hate Shakespeare.
I think that
I'm
it's
so
funny
excited.
that there is a certain period of funny time that we had, like back in Middle Ages. Like, oh, now is the time that we have to laugh. Now is the time the jester makes us laugh. I'm wondering now, is there more
Like any time period Mel Brooks made a movie about.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Good observation. Okay, but
So
is the trend?
Is there more value put toward comedy
Yeah, I guess that's
over
a good,
time?
good way of putting
You're
it.
the history guy. I mean, I honestly couldn't say. I don't know.
I'll say yes.
Okay.
I think we value comedy more, and I think comedians are more popular than they've ever been in history. That's for sure.
What about in the 80s?
Maybe 80s. I'm saying
Yeah.
no. You're right, actually. But I mean, like maybe we've peaked in like the 80s and then early. Like, you know
What
what I'm
about
saying?
in the
Pryor and
what about
Carlin?
in the
Well,
1880s?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Obviously, no. So I mean, I think
Also,
that,
we would specify stand-up
What about
comedy
in the
if we're going to talk about the
1580s?
80s, though.
yeah. What is stand-up
Yeah,
comedy?
the answer would be
Is
yes.
Socrates a
There's
stand-up
different
comic?
comedy here, right?
Is Socrates a
And-
stand-up comic?
And where comedy is coming
sorry.
from.
Yeah, and what it is. So, stand-up
Yeah.
comedy versus the sitcom versus, it could be argued that comedy is more prevalent because of YouTube. So,
Yeah.
those people just spouting off into their webcams are arguably making more children laugh than, Mitch Hedberg ever did in the 80s or 90s.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, it's just a
If you
larger
go back
reach.
to even
though.
comedians before the printing press,
Exactly.
so to speak. Like,
But-
but,
But people were still just making each other laugh, though, in the bar. Like,
Yeah.
there's no difference. It's just a question of like where your laughs are coming from.
Mhm.
It doesn't make a difference.
So,
Good
what is
point.
the value of comedy?
Right. That's my question. That's what I was trying to answer.
Yeah. Is there a quantifiable value to laughter?
Well, not quantifiable, but definitely there can see an evolutionary benefit.
Why isn't
to
it quantifiable?
I just can't see a way of
Dopamine
quantifying.
levels go up.
Yeah, I feel like that's
okay. I
You're
guess,
generally happier. I mean,
but that
you
could
can-
be other stimuli. I don't know if it's necessary. Okay, maybe you're right. You're correct. I
Yeah,
guess that,
it's- yeah.
I
mean, you
feel like
can
it's
read
back
it.
to our love episode.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
you
right,
can
it is that.
measure
Yeah,
those,
yeah.
yeah, it is.
those changes,
For sure.
and
Yeah, your
like,
serotonin levels go up, and you're kind of happier, and you're in good shape.
yeah, laughter doesn't necessarily have to be, but it can be many
It is
times an
therapeutic.
involuntary response.
Some say it
Yeah.
is the best medicine, actually.
Some.
It also promotes,
talk a lot, don't
getting the ladies. So sometimes, or getting the males, as opposed, So
Yeah.
there it goes. The procreation.
So that gets us into the debate of the sexist, or the
Are women funny
yeah,
question?
the Adam Carolla conundrum.
Oh,
is,
fuck that shit. That's
are-
stupid.
Oh, do you think there is no validity in that argument?
That women aren't funny?
No, that men are funnier than women by and large, percentage-wise on whole.
No. So I think that it's a weird way to phrase the question in the first place. If we go back to kind of like why people are funny, and then some sort of like evolutionary reason behind, a male wanting to mate with a woman who is funny.
Yeah.
Right. Who knows? Maybe there's an answer somewhere in there. But as far as just at the core of it, are women as funny as men? Yes.
Yeah.
No question.
There's no doubt. And the only reason, like the biggest reason why men are like why there are more funny men who are out there is because men have more opportunities to be funny.
Right. There's that too.
To be funny. Like they just
right. There's that too.
Like that's the issue.
I guess that is kind of the point, though, because the male skill, or the especially like during puberty when men and women are trying to attract mates, those males that are not necessarily attractive in other ways gravitate towards comedy, whereas a much smaller percentage of women are going to gravitate towards comedy is a way to attract men.
Well, right, because women aren't the ones trying to get the men necessarily. It's usually put on the male to go and get the women, right? So is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but they're buying makeup and perfume, and they're trying.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting that they aren't trying to impress.
You're saying who's pursuing who?
I'm saying where the pursuit comes from.
Right, and women ultimately make the decision. Men are basically out there trying to get whatever they can, and whoever says yes is where they end up.
Right, and I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think that's the trend, and that's sort of at the very least where it begins, and that's kind of how our society sort of is. And I'm obviously not kind of specifying that that's a valid way to do it, but I'm agreeing with you in a sense that's
where we are.
That's why, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I still don't think that means women aren't as funny, right?
No, in that it's a different question.
Okay.
So, in a vacuum, we can take the funniest woman and pair it up next to the funniest man.
Okay.
And I think, yes, you have an even duel there.
Okay.
But if we look at the numbers of men versus women that are in the field of comedy, it is, vastly outweighed the men versus the females.
Right. But that goes back to James's point about the opportunity.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. It's I think it's deeper than that, and I think it's just more cultural. Like the idea that it is valuable for a male to develop skills of comedy, whereas it is not valuable or beneficial as much for a woman to develop those skills,
right? And that's
even
not
outside of the industry. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Whether or not it's genetic is a whole different argument, but it's a muscle that they don't use as much as males do, and so that perpetuates. Just like the whole math and science thing. There was all this talk about how women are excluded from math and science.
Right.
It's not because that they can't do it. It's just because they're discouraged by society. But then that perpetuates into the place that we are now, where there are very few female mathematicians, and most of that is done by
it was 50-50 like long before all that.
Women were called computers before we actually had computers.
Right.
You would have just rooms full of women working out numbers instead of putting them through a computer.
And then the home ec class began. Yeah. And they put the women in home ec classes.
Well, I mean, that was after World War II. All the women
went home economics. The whole point was to use that science. It was considered a science because it was like a home economic. Isn't that weird? Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God. It's kind of
it was how to run the home. It really is.
That is crazy.
But I guess getting to that argument then, is it not, I mean, I understand it's not PC to say, but is it not true to say that there are more funny men than funny women out there, just by and large?
You have to phrase it slightly different if you want it to be, just by and large, you're saying that there are more funny men than funny women?
That's what I said.
Famous?
I think it's also a matter for
in general.
like what
I think he means in general. Go ahead, James.
Sorry, I was going to say like you're positing like this concept of whether there are more funnier men or women. It's all still a matter of perception, right?
Certainly.
And so what
is comedy is.
Well, more importantly,
but it's still like
go ahead,
there are shows that are out there. There are comedians that are out there. There's like products that are out there. Like, I don't like Girls as a show. My wife likes Girls.
Yeah.
Do I does it really matter that I don't like Girls? Does it make it a lesser show? I don't think so. I just don't happen to like the show, but my wife really enjoys it. And that doesn't I'm not that audience. and that's fine that I'm not that audience.
More than that, on a more philosophical level, you can also just say that the funniest person in the world, male, or the funniest women in the world, right, haven't made any jokes, period. It doesn't mean they're not funny. Do you see what I'm saying?
No. How do you?
So
be
we
funny
talked about
without-
like let's just say that there's the funniest person in the world, right? There's a woman who's the funniest woman in the world, the funniest person in the world, period. She understands comedy at the absolute level, and yet, and you could just say that she's learned all this simply by watching shows or watching stand up forever, or whatever.
how anyone learns comedy.
Right. And yet has never actually said anything funny. But let's say she's a writer.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say she's a writer.
Critic,
She's written.
okay.
No, not a critic. I'm saying it just in a vacuum.
A comedy writer.
You put this girl, not even a comedy writer. She doesn't do anything. She just has absorbed all of this, written it all down, and never interacts with humankind ever. Okay. But
the
you
Nell
then
of
have,
comedy.
Sure, if you want. I mean, even, but then she in her own kind of time has recorded all of these different stand-up materials. She has books and books and books on everything. Okay. So what I'm saying is that that's the funniest person alive, and you've never heard any of her jokes until after she died. Okay. So,
I mean, that gets into, does studying make you the thing, though? So if you know everything about comedy, does that make you funny? Not necessarily. If you know everything about space, that doesn't make you
what
an
I'm trying to
astronaut.
answer is, you were asking, are there just in general more funny men than women? And I'm saying it might not be measurable, because there could be women out there who aren't telling jokes. Do you see what I'm saying?
If the tree falls in the woods and no one hears it, doesn't make a sound.
Yes.
Yeah,
see
the
what I'm
wave
saying?
still exists. But
Right. Again, if a nuclear explosion goes off in the woods, doesn't make a sound. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she is still funny, even though she hasn't made anyone laugh. So that's kind of why I'm cautious to answer your question, yes or no, because I don't know if it's necessarily an answerable question. I would say no. You know what I mean? But I also just don't know whether, and I don't know, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at its core, are men as funny as women, or as women are women as funny as men? Yeah, definitely. And then it goes back again into how you measure that.
Right on.
Right. So James's point of girls, right? Who's to say that if there's this is the same amount of people are laughing at girls as laughing at another kind of obscure, let's say Silicon Valley, right? It's mostly like nerds or whatever laughing at Silicon Valley, and then some women just don't get it and aren't really liking it, and then that same ratio is with girls, let's just say, or just people. Fuck, it doesn't matter what the demographic is, or the gender of the demographic.
So does comedy get the respect it deserves, or does it deserve
No.
more respect?
Yeah,
Not even
that's
close.
a clear no.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
No, there will never be. Yeah.
No.
Comedy doesn't get the respect
On either ends.
What's the
Go ahead.
you think?
Yeah.
First of all, you're presupposing that comedy deserves respect in the first place.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by respect? What is that respect? What does that mean?
So for me, like I always mention, to me, Will Ferrell should have won an Academy Award for his performance in Old School. It is
Wow. Okay.
I'm not a Ferrell fan.
Yeah.
I know there are people who aren't, but like there's stuff that he does in that, and even if they're like whomever you think that is a comedic genius or whatever, they probably put forth a role that I think is deserving of being acclaimed in that level.
So you're saying artistic respect?
Yes, and like you're never you see nominal comedies win like best picture in the Academy Awards, but generally it's not a comedy that wins stuff like that.
Right. And I mean, comedy and drama have their separate categories in the Golden Globes.
Yeah, wasn't it The Martian that just won best comedy?
The Martian.
Well, yeah, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
That was a Miramax lobby. That was fun.
Well, if we get into it, the awards were basically established as commercials for the industry. Yeah.
So, no. The awards in general, the Oscars were established and began as a party for the industry.
Well, yeah,
it was the way the studios kind of were able to repay, because they had all their actors, writers, directors under contract, who felt like they were getting fucked, and so to alleviate that, kind of in the late 20s,
they started bringing
we definitely aren't a monopoly by any chance. They were like, well, let's just throw a party. We'll throw a party for everybody. Fun fact: you know who was nominated for Best Actor the very first Academy Awards?
Who?
Rin Tin Tin, the dog, was nominated for Best Actor. So if you want to talk about the origins of the purpose of the Academy Awards, it was a fucking party. What it's become is a little bit different, etc. But
it's a party. It's just a lot more politics around it.
Exactly. I think it's still a party. It's still kind of a big old circle jerk. I don't have a problem with it. It's fine, but it's totally a party within the industry.
Yeah. Well, I have a problem with the industry in general and just the amount of money that they pretend to make or don't, but yeah,
I mean, I guess they're movies. But so hang on, before we get too far, so what you mean by respect, James, at least, is the respect it deserves is artistic respect. You think there's artistic importance in comedy,
and there's just some intrinsic value that somebody like Sean Penn, who goes all in on a certain role, that there's somehow more respect given to that, or the Daniel Day-Lewis approach to acting, than somebody who is a comedic genius, like whomever you think that is.
So I think that
like Bill Murray or whatever, so like stuff like that. Like,
I think what's tough about it is that gets into the question of like what is art in a weird way, which I'm sure we'll get into at some point. But there aren't that many layers to a laugh. Yeah. If there are more layers within the laugh, then it becomes a little bit more possibly artistically valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, we're going to have to answer that whole question. But I would say just to that point, that's sort of the devil's advocate element of it, is that the more layers there are, the more artistically interesting it is. And typically, there aren't that many layers to a laugh.
Is it possible that the lack of, or perceived lack of, respect is due to its sort of raw base emotionality and, that sort of involuntary response that it brings up? Because it's, it's kind of talked about that the sort of cousin of comedy is horror, in that both of those are sort of opposing points trying to elicit a
instinctive response.
Exactly,
right? It's not asking you to think about anything. It's not really advancing anything in the, it's not saying anything artistically. It's just
doesn't necessarily have to. Its base is to, get at your core
you're right.
emotions.
Yeah.
So is that just something that is worthy of less respect? Is that something that we should think more about?
I think it's a double standard.
If you're not able to, if there's nothing there to think about, then it would just be less deserved of respect.
Well, no, there's plenty of comedy movies that
satire.
Then it deserves respect. What I'm saying is, if the less levels there are, then it is less deserved of respect. I'm not saying there aren't comedies that have plenty of levels.
That's a little snobberish, because one level, you could say like there's two levels, but both levels are kind of boring and stupid, and there's one level that's really funny and makes you laugh, even though it's just a fart joke. You know what I'm saying?
It's like Jerry
one
Lewis
amazing fart joke could actually be better than a really amazingly well put satire stinging comment.
How?
Because it elicits laughter. I don't know. It elicits more laughter than your stinging comment.
No, you said it could be funnier.
I think it could be equal. I think it depends, is what I'm saying. Could be.
We're talking about the value, though. We're talking about the value of it, not necessarily is it funny.
And so
you said better. I don't know what you mean by better.
Well, value is better. I guess you're saying one is better than the other.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So if you're saying a fart joke,
I'm saying it could be better than your layered comment.
A way to keep track could possibly be the number of people that laugh at something.
Okay.
So if we have a base fart joke that makes 100 people out of 100 people laugh,
right, versus
an intellectual satire that makes 10 people out of 100 people laugh.
Okay.
Is it not possible that fart joke is more valuable to society than that intellectual satire?
Yes, absolutely.
That's all I think he was saying.
Yeah, that's all.
Good. Then you should have said that.
I need Sean to help me. God, it's a team effort. Okay, but hold on. I want to get something about respect. I don't.
No respect. No respect.
What the fuck did you hit?
Everything.
Oh my God.
Go ahead. So go ahead. Talk about your respect.
Anyways, I think actually stand-up comics get very little respect in relation to how difficult their job is. Not only are they doing public speaking, which might be the greatest fear, as Seinfeld says, is public speaking is a larger fear than death.
Am I just dead inside? Like, I've never had a problem with that.
I don't either. But me and you,
public speaking.
Yeah, we're all teachers, so I kind of. We all
that melts
stand in
away
front
pretty
of
Yeah,
quick.
it's weird that people always talk about this like number one fear. Like,
we
I
all
never
stand in
have
front of a
problem with
crowd and
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
I love it. It's
I don't like
fucking
talking to
exhilarating.
people, but I can stand in front of a crowd and talk to them. Like
Who are you talking to when you do that? Then
the void.
oh, okay, that's interesting.
Much like this
So you
podcast.
do- so
I don't
you-
look at you guys. I look off into the corner
So
when I
you
talk.
perhaps do actually have a fear of public speaking. Like, in other words, once they materialized in your mind, then you might have a fucking crippling fear of talking. But whereas currently you don't even look at them, you don't even pay attention to the fact that they're there. I just
true.
blew Sean's mind. If you guys could see, he's looking off right now in the distance.
That was wonderful.
Really
He just cracked it open.
contemplating that.
As long as they don't exist in my mind. Yeah. Okay.
Well, what? So I feel like stand-ups, comics get a fair
Well,
amount.
it's
of
not
respect.
just the public
Not
speaking;
as much
it's
as they used to,
it's
but-
making someone laugh on a consistent basis for an hour straight or something. Like
Yeah.
no interruptions. You're just talking for an hour. That's
It's not usually an hour though.
well,
Usually
okay,
they're
whatever.
doing like
I'm
15
sorry.
minutes.
You're
So
right,
that's-
15.
Yeah,
I'm saying a
no,
comedy
it's like-
special. Okay, whatever.
I
An
get it, I
HBO
know.
special.
Well, there's comedians that talk about being able to play the audience like an instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the idea is you can read a room and know what's working and know how to address those specific people.
Sure, but the mere fact that this is the sixth question we've asked each other means it is getting a fair amount of respect.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, that's a question of what you mean by respect.
There's tons of money in the industry. There's
Sure.
But I mean, even still, sure, yeah. There's money in the industry. There's people considering it. There's
Mhm.
people thinking about it. There's a million fucking open mic stand up openings every single. I've been it's a little fun fact as well. I go see stand up every week. I see it every Wednesday.
Where do you go?
Everywhere. So
He doesn't want to give out his secrets.
I don't care. It's fine.
He doesn't want everyone flocking
Comedy
to you.
Store.
Wants to
Comedy
say-
Store was the first one, like a month ago or so, and then I went to, I think it was Largo right after that.
Right on.
Then I did UCB, and then but also within that I'll go. I mean, I live right right across the street from the Laugh Factory and just down the street from the Comedy Store. So this week I always get free tickets. So I went this week Wednesday. Martin Lawrence dropped in actually, which was kind of fun. Except they sat me like front row,
I hate that.
and I went by myself,
Yeah,
and so I'm like,
God.
they're gonna
What's wrong
fuck
with front?
with me.
What's wrong with? Oh, you don't like being talked to.
Yeah.
I just it breaks the magic for
Yep.
me. So it's not that
Yeah.
I don't like it; it's that I'm never able to add to your joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna start talking to me, I'm not gonna help you out because I'm gonna fucking get like whatever. I'm gonna answer in my Jersey fashion, and I'm gonna feel bad. It's like
No,
and
that's
so,
the thing. Like, they need authentic responses, and those people
Yeah,
that
I'm not
come
the
from
person to
comedy,
ask.
your instinct is to try and be funny, and
a good point.
that doesn't help them.
I don't
unfortunately.
even try to be
They
funny.
need a
I
straight
just
man.
don't want to do anything. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
don't want to do anything. But you're right.
Exactly.
Anybody who does try to be, if you try to add to it, then you're gonna fuck it up.
Exactly.
And if you ask me, because I'm literally like, I'm surprised that you're alive, let
Yeah.
alone like actually talking to me. Like, I'm still, you're on stage at the moment. You are just a character.
Yeah, yeah.
And then if you break that wall, and you, ironically enough, it's so weird too, because I see them interact with everything. But the second it's like me, I'm like, fuck, I'm here, and like I suddenly come online and I'm fucked up, and I'm like, I don't know what happened.
Not that this makes sense
But-
to anyone but me, but it's a lot like doing this show. When I'm sitting here talking behind the microphone, it's a much different interaction than when I'm listening back when I'm doing the editing on this show. And it doesn't feel like it's me listening to me. I feel like I'm listening to something completely outside
Oh, weird.
of me.
Okay. Interesting. So it goes back to your public speaking point. It's
Maybe
like, right at the
I'm a
moment-
pod. Yeah. All right.
Well, no, it's just you're a performer.
I think it's a,
You're
I
a
think it's a
performer
good.
at-
I think it's a
at
good
your
way
heart.
of coping, almost not coping, but dealing with it, or I guess that
coping
is the
with
same,
it.
the same fucking thing. Trying to think of a better word, but I can't. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I think it's a good mechanism. I
Well,
think
coping
it's
for what? Or
ma-
coping with what?
possibly a fear of public speaking.
Well, no, but it could just be.
Overcompensation for something I'm trying to say doesn't exist.
I don't know. I don't want to play armchair psychologist.
Well, it could be a question of like the escape of reality. You know what I
True.
mean? So if you are just kind of performing everywhere and you're not there you go. See, as he jingles his scotch.
Scotchy scotch.
Whiskey, Canadian whiskey.
Sorry.
God,
But I
Scotch is
also
disgusting.
agree with James
It's the
about
same
the Oscars. I don't have a problem with the comedic actor winning an Oscar or comedy winning Best Picture.
Should there be a separate category for comedy? Currently, there isn't one in the Oscars.
No, I
Well, then should there be
I just
like
think
a
there
separate category for genre movie?
Yeah,
or
it seems
best
strange.
horror movie?
Right.
Where do you end with that?
Right.
No, yeah, it's already 3 hours long. It's kind of.
But
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
Sean. I like what you said earlier about the base emotion thing, because I do think it's a double standard about how we view emotions in general. We think like, oh, our deeper emotions, like that a movie that makes us think more, might be more valuable to us.
Thinking is not an emotion.
yeah.
Okay, but make us shit.
Okay, go ahead.
But you know what I'm saying.
counter-
Let me
No.
finish it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we might value that, but I think that damn it.
Well, just while you're getting there, the counter
Sorry.
argument to that is that the movies that make us cry are basically eliciting those base emotions as well.
Yeah.
But for some reason we, just flourish awards upon those, whereas the ones that make us scared or the ones that make us laugh,
exactly.
we don't care
Crying
about.
I think
typically a more
horror,
complex
I think
emotion.
that was what you brought me to. I think is what I want to talk about. The
Crying is
horror-
elicited by way of a more complex emotion.
Is it though?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's not?
It might be.
The
You
level-
can
No,
cry
it's
for
not.
3 reasons. What
You
are
can
other
cry-
reasons you can laugh?
Just remember another time you cried, and then you can just cry. Like you
Right,
can
that's what I'm
fake
saying. It's
cry.
more complicated in and of itself. You
Yeah.
laugh for one reason because
You
something's
can
funny.
work- but
No,
the
I
thing
mean,
is,
that's saying
can
you cry
work
because-
hard towards crying. Like you can work hard towards gaining more emotion in a moment. You can work harder to do that. Working harder doesn't necessarily make you funnier, because being funny is a little bit more amorphous.
Yeah.
And like there's more of a in the moment type thing. So think about it this way: like you can go see a comedy in the theater, and nobody can laugh. Like if nobody laughs throughout the entire thing, like the entire movie,
That's the
you
funniest thing I've
can't-
ever heard in my life, though.
but you can't claim that movie is funny, right?
Yeah.
From that experience, you can't. Yet there could be absolutely no reaction in a movie where you watch that's super serious, and at that point, it's up to anybody who can say how good of a movie that was based on the experience of watching the movie with other people.
I think you lost me. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
think
just saying, like
comedy's
what
more
I'm saying is
quantifiable.
that you can talk your way into making something that's not supposed to be funny. Like you could talk your way into making something mean something more, but it's much more difficult to talk something that's not funny and try to convince somebody that it's actually funny. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I see that. So if you're watching an art movie, you can, put a bunch of meaning into it
Yeah.
and make people think that
But
it's
it's
deeper
there.
than it was.
Wait a minute.
No, it's not
What do you
always.
mean it's not
Oh.
always there? If it's not there, it's not there. But
Dude.
if it's there, it's fucking there.
But you
So
can
this
still
gets into
try to
our-
think- you can still go
It's more
deep.
into the art question.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, to like presuppose that there's not meaning in something already, then obviously I agree with you. But it's not like people are just making up the symbolism behind things and the meaning behind things. It's people are fucking studying this shit their entire lives. So you understand the complexities that go behind that one phrase, that one sort of amazing phrase that is lost on the majority of the crowd, and yet it's there. And so the critics kind of are able to explain that in a weird way because they spend their whole lives kind of thinking about it. You know what I mean?
And yes, and sometimes the person who makes that art has no thought. Did not even reference, like, think about that moment and that moment that the critic is
Yes and
harping
no.
on
But
and writing about.
what happened?
But they can not. It cannot be intentional.
Okay, so whether something is again, this goes back into our art kind of conversation, but what ultimately you're saying is true, right? Where it might not be intentional, that doesn't mean that one, it's not there and it's not subconscious. Okay, so I mean, I could go on for hours about the opening lines of Hamlet, or really almost any Shakespeare
Please
fucking
don't.
line. Oh, I'm going to at some point.
I want to.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. But I'm not going to do it here because we'll have an art episode. But and again, I'm not saying that there isn't validity in comedy. I'm simply saying that trying to equate the two in this way, as far as like an overall umbrella of respect, I think might not get at the heart of what we're talking about, of what is comedy. Not a question of like, is it deserving of respect? Because obviously it is. But if you're talking about artistic intent behind something, then it's different, and that again just gets into the questions of art. But just to kind of clear up the first question before we get too crazy is, so you could write something and it is completely instinctive and it's based on years and years and years of training and understanding, and it wasn't necessarily meant in that way. However, it could be meant subconsciously, and most of the time with great artists, that's how it is meant, is kind of it's instilled subconsciously, and somebody points it out to you, the artist, and you're like, oh shit, you're right, I wasn't thinking of that, but you're right, it's there. The point is, it's still there. If it's not valid, if it's not detectable within the text and the larger sense of what's going on there, then, in other words, if you were going to try to equate, gender issues to Hamlet, okay, Hamlet's a tough one because I was going to name a different other play, but if you're going to try to equate that type of thing and say that kind of Shakespeare meant that it was like a feminine, there's a feminist message behind something, that might not be very valid.
Yeah, but and I totally get what you're saying, but
Right.
I will say that you can bullshit an argument in that realm, right?
Absolutely.
You can.
Absolutely,
You totally
you can bullshit
can.
around.
You can't bullshit whether something's funny or not.
Totally. Yeah. No, and I completely agree with you.
That's all I'm saying.
No, and I absolutely agree with you. Again, because I think ultimately the question of respect, we all agree, right?
I do.
Comedy is deserved of respect. I just don't know if we've fully defined what we all mean by respect yet.
I just try to make it in comparison to other genres, I suppose.
Well, right, but you guys keep jumping into this artistic respect thing, and that's the problem. That's the question. And that kind of gets into the larger element.
A lot of it is
what is the art there for in the first place? Is it just to alleviate, or is it also to make you think? I think that there's right now, as it stands, an inherent value placed on things that have more layers and kind of have a better allow you to look at the world in a slightly different way, right? A laugh ultimately alleviates some kind of burden. I'm not placing
comedy's
one
a cop-out?
a cop-out. What do you mean?
I think it just hits a portion of your brain. I think that and when you're talking about layers, it just hits another portion of your brain, and at the same time, it really is quite amazing. And I agree with you actually to that extent.
I think the second you start thinking about something, it naturally becomes a little bit more important.
Yeah, and if you have that other layer of yes, it's making you laugh, it's just like literally hitting two portions of your brain with like dopamine or serotonin or something like that. So yeah, you are getting, I guess, an extra little bit of value out of it.
So, yeah, I mean, I think, and I also might even reject your hypothesis in the very beginning that like a fart joke.
Well, that
could
was
be better
I was also
than
just kind of
a
throwing it out
complicated
there.
joke. No, I know you
But
were.
I was saying it does depend because there
Of
could be
course
a
it
multi-layer
depends.
joke that could just be awful and stupid.
But then it's not a joke. It's not funny.
It's
just a pithy observation.
It could be a bad. It could be a bad joke. It could be a stupid joke.
Right, then it's not a fucking joke.
Where there's no bad jokes in your
there's
mind.
still bad
No, it could be a
jokes.
joke,
Yeah.
but it's just a poorly
Fine,
written
okay,
joke.
then it's a bad joke.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
right.
Don't press your
but,
judgment on me.
but then it's not funny. So if it's not, I mean, that to go again.
To
goes
you?
into how we decide to.
And then are we quantifying
No,
by
he's
numbers?
presupposing that it's a bad joke. So a joke, if a joke does a joke have to be funny?
Right, but I mean, there's,
just saying
we can consider like dad jokes bad jokes, but they're funny to the guy that's saying them, and they might be funny to 1 in 10 people that you say it to. So just because
Two and
you
a
don't,
Half Men was the funniest shit. Was the most watched comedy on
Excellent point.
television for almost a goddamn decade.
What was?
2.5 Men.
2.5 Men.
Oh yeah, God.
Like, and people
Most of
loved
those were
that
sex jokes,
show.
though.
They were
Yeah.
sex jokes, but
Yeah,
like Big
yeah.
Bang Theory now is like nerd shaming jokes.
Again,
and,
no,
like,
most of those are sex
it-
jokes too. Actually,
Yeah,
Nerd shaming sex jokes, but
Yeah.
but
I mean-
like and these are shows that I don't watch either of those shows.
Mhm.
Not most of the people that I know don't really watch either of those shows.
Mhm.
But they are the most popular shows on television,
Mhm.
and I don't think they're funny at all.
Mhm.
But
Exactly.
a lot of people find them hilarious.
So does that mean they're not funny? Yeah.
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know if The Big Bang Theory is that funny. I like that show a lot, actually.
Well, you're wrong.
Wait, you said you watch it a lot, but you don't find it that funny?
I said I don't think it's necessarily all that funny.
But you like it.
But you continue watching.
It's extremely watchable.
I agree.
That's
I think it's actually kind of funny. I'm not going to say
I don't
love
think it's
it,
not funny.
and I don't
just
even watch it
think it's
religiously.
It's crazy.
But
Funny.
if I catch an episode of
You
it,
don't do anything
I'll
religiously.
let.
See, and that was a bad joke, though.
It's a great joke.
It had
was
the
a terrible
timing of a
joke.
joke. And
No, it was
a
wonderful.
callback.
Of
and
course
It was a
was-
callback and a pun. It was
Yeah.
great.
There was a lot going
Oh,
on
so
there,
there's
man.
layers
There's
to it?
3
Oh,
layers.
Oh, all of a sudden it's better because there's layers? Oh, what happened?
I'm with
We-
you
what
on the
happened there?
layers.
No one was disagreeing with that. We're
Layer
just saying
it
it's
up,
not
baby.
required, man.
Well,
Some jokes are better than other jokes. We can say that.
boom, good. That's all I was saying too.
Yeah, it's not racist.
But that's not
Like
empirical.
if Yuri the cat right here that's standing on the table, if he farts, it's way funnier than if one of us farts.
Unexpected.
It's silent, so it's not as funny.
If it's noisy, it's even funny. It's hilarious.
Oh
That's
my
what I
God,
mean. Yeah, he
it'd be
farts
amazing.
silently, so it's not funny.
Oh.
He's just.
Oh, I see.
yeah.
But if
But
all
it's still sort of
it would be
funny.
very funny for our listeners because it would make us, smell it and react, and we would be really horrified. And our listeners would listen to us smell cat fart.
I suppose.
I don't even know what a joke is.
I think I'm just saying. You're right. I have no idea. I really do.
What do Jews know about comedy?
I know.
Yeah, it's good. Where are we? What's happening?
Comedy?
Yeah, we're making
Yeah.
people laugh.
So-
We're changing worlds.
So we talked about the respect stuff. I think we all agree that it it is deserved of respect, whether or not it gets the respect it deserves, et cetera. At the moment, we didn't
Yeah.
really answer, but why?
Right on.
Who cares?
So are comedians taking the place of preachers? Is that something that is filling a niche that since there is more and more of the country turning to atheism or turning away from any sort of organized religion, do stand-up comedians come in and fill that void of the preacher or the theorist or the philosopher? You can't just, well, I guess you could stand on a street corner and philosophize, but
have you ever been in New York City?
Yeah, no, I haven't, but that's right. Yeah, I don't.
It's all over the place.
It really, really is.
I don't know that there's a whole lot of money in it, but you can certainly do it.
That's what they're philosophizing, though, while they're out there.
That there should be money in it.
Yeah,
basically, yeah. That's what it is. Go ahead, James. What do you got, man? Stand up as preachers.
I mean, I think that it gets to an unfortunate other debate in regards to intent, because I think there are certainly, just like there are plenty of preachers who want to actually change the way that people are viewing things so they can act in what they determine as like a more moral fashion. There are comedians who intend to impart lessons so that the people who are listening to them will act as better people. But I don't think all comedians are out to do that, nor should they be out to do that.
What comedians in your mind do that?
What comedians are actually just trying to change, like change how people are thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in their own way, there's what my favorite Louis C.K. bit is him talking about, and the premise is based around, and he was joking around about how trying to take the darkest premise and make it funny. And so he made an entire bit, and I'm not going to do it any justice or anything like that, but around the fact that we would have a lot less dead kids if we didn't persecute child molesters as much as we did. Yeah, no, it's the darkest thing ever. But if it was just, like, his entire point is like, if we just like, no, we'll take the kid back, like it's cool, like we're not gonna like hunt you down and kill you, like the kid would probably survive. The kid would be fucked up, but the kid would at least survive.
Yeah, but is he? Go ahead, sorry.
And then he ends the entire bit. He's like, I don't know what to do with this information. Like, and so. So I think to a certain degree, somebody like him or even Chris Rock to a certain degree, I think, like David Cross, Jon Stewart certainly did stuff like that. Carlin is a person who wants...
I don't know if most of those guys are if their intent is to make the world better in that sense. In other words, as a lesson, like a lesson type comic. I don't know if those guys are lesson type. The one I was thinking of as far as that could be Bill Maher.
Yeah, I was about to say
Sure.
Bill Maher is probably the closest to what you're talking about, where they're trying to use comedy, but to an end. They have an agenda. They have an agenda to their comedy. Whereas I'm not sure.
I think Jon Stewart did. Like Jon Stewart certainly had an agenda on the Daily Show. I mean, it's impossible.
I'll give you that too, for sure.
Same thing with Colbert.
Good examples.
They definitely had agendas.
Well, I don't know if Colbert's a comic, like a stand-up comic. Well, I guess that's another question, too. Like, do you have to be a stand-up comic beforehand to be a comedian?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
So Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah. Chaplin is definitely a comic. There's no question.
I mean, Will Ferrell's not a stand-up comic.
Yeah, exactly.
He's fun. He's a
he was improv.
But Will Ferrell does bits. Like he goes and does things on shows that are bits.
Okay.
Like,
so you have to be, you mean live? So okay.
I guess.
He was also on Saturday Night Live, so like he did live comedy. Like that's
what I'm saying. Yeah, he was Second City before,
but stand-up is actually, it seems like a whole different.
I think it was Second
animal.
City.
Yeah,
or was it IO? Sorry. Stand-up is definitely a different animal, but of course the question still remains as far as like, because the question is stand-up the new kind of preacher,
right?
Not necessarily are comedians the new preachers.
I would say that Will Ferrell is most definitely not considered one of those, but George Carlin is.
Yeah. I think there are.
And Bill Maher is, and Jon Stewart is.
And Charlie Chaplin is.
Yeah, you're right. Charlie Chaplin is.
The great dictator.
But there's some satires. I mean, you can talk about Peter Sellers might be, or, Dr. Strangelove or something like that.
Sure.
Totally. Those guys might be saying more than your average, Larry the Cable Guy.
Right.
Yeah.
But are they?
With the puppets. I can't think of his name, but the dude with the puppets.
Jeff
Dunham.
Yeah. Oh my God, he does. Like, if you've ever been to Vegas, like he's all over Vegas.
Sure.
Yeah.
Silence.
And that guy does not have anything important to say.
So, but are they? So then the question you're saying,
there are
goes
philosophers.
more into the question of, I don't know if they're philosophers.
Well, they're comedians / philosophers / preachers.
Jeff Dunham certainly has a philosophy.
Yeah, but so does everybody has a philosophy.
But
not everyone has a microphone.
Philosophy to the people.
Right, but that's the question at the end. Sorry,
I think he's just like, I think his inherent goal is just to make them laugh.
You don't think he's trying to spread his anti-Muslim hate?
No, I don't really. Well, not intentionally.
I think that is interestingly subconscious. His probably
sure.
his That's obvious.
Is
That's
it,
obvious.
I mean, well, here's the other thing.
I don't know how
too.
subconscious.
Yeah, I don't know.
it
You're
is.
right. Exactly.
Is it
Pretty
less
out
funny?
there.
Is it less funny the more politically charged it is?
And
And the more, or I should say, let me rephrase that.
taboos are always funny.
Well, hang on. What I'm saying is that the more you add to the more apparent your agenda becomes,
Mm-hmm.
does that is there an inverse proportionality to
That's a
how
good
funny
question.
something is?
If you have an agenda, does that make you less funny?
No. The apparentness of the agenda.
I think this goes back to being expected, and like if you know the
Yeah.
agenda, the joke might be more.
Oh yeah,
expected.
you're probably right.
You know what
Very
I mean?
true.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't
But-
think Bill Maher's funny at all because of that exact reason.
Yeah.
Just
Because
like
you
it's
know
so-
the punchline is going to be anti-Republican, so it's pretty
sort of, yeah, or
predictable.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, right?
I think it's a factor. I don't think maybe the entire. It's definitely correlated.
Well, certainly.
Okay, cool.
Dennis Miller was funnier before 9/11.
Yeah,
Dear God, yes.
yeah, he really was.
Yeah, that's true.
It really was.
Yeah.
Man. Well, actually, I don't even know he was ever funny.
Oh
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he
God.
was.
But what's
I know.
funny-
I know. I was
Dennis
there.
Miller
I
was
Okay,
just,
Yeah.
yeah.
wait. I have a question
The
about.
80s Coke days were
Yeah,
some
I know.
good days for
Yeah,
Dennis
Yeah,
Dennis
Miller.
this
Miller
brings up a
back
good
in the
question
Keniston
about
days.
time, though.
Yeah.
I want to understand, like, are comedians, they have a specific time and place? Like, people were talking recently about Steve Martin I was listening to, and everyone was, he was considered maybe one of the funniest men alive
Sure.
in a day. But supposedly, and I actually haven't watched much Steve
The
Martin. but-
comedians in cars getting coffee. Is that what you're?
yeah, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
this is what they're
sure.
talking about. But, like, and I even think he was talking about with Jerry, like, would I be funny today?
Yeah.
And he said, no way. Steve Martin said, no
Right.
way. And I guess
Jerry
that-
said yes.
And Jerry said yes. I don't know. Actually, I haven't watched enough Steve Martin to know. I would guess some is probably translatable and some isn't.
You know-
I don't know. I do you guys probably have more
he
of
would
an
he would
insight?
be funny not in the same way.
Yeah.
He would,
Yeah.
but he would be equally funny, but in a much more ridiculous way. It would
But
be-
I would guess that
It'd be
certain
s-
jokes are obviously dated, no matter from what era they are.
Well, that's
Well,
the thing. He
there's
didn't really do
also-
jokes in a weird way. He
Right.
did. It was more
His
of a shtick.
character. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a
And
shtick.
it was like there was a layer of irony to everything that he did as well.
Precisely.
That in that moment, and that's part of the reason why Steve Martin doesn't really continue as a stand-up comic after like a couple of years, because that irony, the shock of the irony of it all, like kind of goes away. You can only be
Yeah.
ironic about a thing once,
Right.
and then it loses its value as you go along. Like,
Right.
and so that's part of like. That's why he only has a very short time frame. Whereas like Jerry Seinfeld knows how to tell a joke and therefore has a longer time frame with which he can be funny.
Well, yeah, he's got a structure rather
that's
than
interesting.
a-
Right.
He's got a
Because
jump shot.
He built a structure.
Right.
Which
It's not
things can
necessarily
come from.
content. It's the comedic structure of it in
That's
general.
interesting.
I mean, again, to your point, but yes, if like Bill Burr I think Bill Burr even does this joke. He's like, if he comes out as like the old guy, he's like, what's up with that Monica Lewinsky? It's like, yeah, of course that's going to lose humor over time because it's not topical or relevant.
Yeah.
Although I guess there probably is a point of kind of return.
But there
where,
also could be
where it becomes funny to like start if you just
Yeah.
in like 4 years. Or let's just presuppose Hillary Clinton doesn't get. Actually, no. Even if first of all, if Hillary Clinton does get nominated, then Monica Lewinsky jokes become funny again. But in like 30 years, if you just do a whole random bit on Monica Lewinsky, it will be funny.
Bill
'Cause
Maher
it's
did
so
a Monica
random.
Lewinsky joke on Friday.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So again, like I said,
There we go.
do you remember
So-
the joke?
Oh shit, I forget it. Honestly, I think she's like it's
last time a Jew fucked him.
Exactly,
so
trouble
fucked
with a
Hillary,
Jew.
Yeah, had as much trouble with a Jew as with
Yeah.
Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah, something like
But
that. It's
getting
pretty
back-
funny. It's not bad.
Getting back to the Steve Martin thing, does age have more to do with it than anything?
What does that mean?
Do comedians inherently get less funny as they age? So there's the idea, Wheeler was talking about this, unfortunately I hate to bring him up again, but the idea that, in your youth, you are more often filled with a rage that turns into complacency as you get older and more entrenched in the system. So does that relinquishing of that rage inherently make you less funny or less driven to be funny?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, look at Don Rickles. He's still funny, and he retains literally his rage.
The rage, yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It's all about charging your batteries. I think kind of,
Yeah.
and retaining your edge. I guess if you want to call
And
it.
I think
edge.
it's still just the exposure to if you tell if you only tell one joke, it's not going to be as funny the 24th time you tell it. If
Right.
you continue to drive and find new avenues and tell different jokes, then you're still going to be funny.
Yeah.
It's just if you try to do the same thing over and over and over again, there's a half-life to it.
It might also just be more a question of the energy of each individual artist, not necessarily the humor of someone. And so it's an interesting theory as far as complacency.
Yeah.
It starts to kill comedy, but it might also just be your energy level.
Well, then there's Rodney Dangerfield, who didn't
Right.
get funny until he was in his 50s. So,
Well, he was probably he was always funny. It's just a question of whether or not he was. He was
well,
discovered. As
he was
funny.
always a stand-up. Whether or not he was funny is debatable.
Yeah,
I mean,
and there's a
that's
time
what's-
frame where you can actually become like funny. Like I
Yeah.
used to try to be an
Right.
actor, and I'm actually lamenting that I stopped trying to be an actor like 5 years ago because like now I'm rolling into like prime being like befuddled dad territory.
Yeah,
Right.
Like in terms of like going for parts.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas I was just slobby best friend before. There's way more befuddled dad roles than there are slobby best friend roles.
Well, again, it just depends on the time frame as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like 20 years ago, there weren't as many, or I guess like Jesus, maybe it is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Everything cycles, man.
Well, 20 years is kind of the fair
Yeah.
cycle in
That's
general, which is why I'm
interesting.
so glad the
You could go
90s are
back,
back,
you
by
could
the
go back
way.
another 20. It would
Just
be-
as a side note, I'm fucking so glad the 90s are back because like all my clothes, someone was like, "Oh, your shirt's so vintage." I'm like, "Fuck no, it's just old."
Oh yeah, like plaid shorts. I had a bunch of plaid shorts in
Plaid
1990.
shorts,
Yeah, like not plaid, but like that. Plaid. That
Were you in a
Right?
ska band?
right? Where the fuck you?
I was like a
There were
little.
plaid
I was
shorts?
a little punk kid in like
Oh,
1990.
plaid shorts.
Yeah.
Oh, like
Yeah.
cargo shorts and shit like that.
They
oh,
didn't have
yeah,
cargo
for sure.
pockets. Jesus Christ.
No,
What's
I know.
wrong with
I
cargos,
know.
man?
They didn't have cargo pants.
Well,
They didn't have
Wheeler
cargo
would
pants?
argue and
No, the 90s
kill me
are
if
over
he saw me
Yeah,
in cargo shorts.
Cargos are awesome.
or like Jinko jeans back in the day.
Oh,
Remember
Oh,
those?
you did not just.
Jinkos were
yes.
rad as fuck, man. Flannel, Jinkos and flannel.
Just turn into I love the 90s.
I mean, hey,
But I mean, that's something like as we said, it happens every 20 years because that's when those people get in power and then they are
Exactly.
nostalgic about what was happening in their
Exactly.
youth. And everyone thinks that whatever was happening when they were growing up is the perfect time to have been growing up.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Does nostalgia make it funnier? Does like the past make it funnier, kind of? Just or is it
Well,
just,
no.
look at
or just 'cause
family
it's
members.
relatable?
Yeah, it's relatability.
But sometimes you can look back on stuff and it can be funnier, obviously, than it was. Recently you can say, "I'll look back on
Yeah,
this
what
and
was
I'll
that?
laugh
Crimes
on
and
it."
misdemeanors. It's like comedy. Comedy is tragedy plus time.
Oh, that's a good.
Yeah.
That's okay. There we go. Thanks, Woody Allen.
But
Yeah, right.
I think what you're
but
talking about,
as a
Joey,
joke, he's making fun of it though, because it's not true.
Some truth to it.
Okay,
Like all jokes.
there's not truth to it, but there is certainly some truth to it. But I don't
tragedy.
think I don't think comedy is tragedy. Plus
No,
time.
it's not. Is but I mean, there's a reason why
a
we can joke
formula
about
for
AIDS
comedy
now.
is-
It takes time.
Sure.
there are many formulas for comedy. Tragedy
Exactly.
plus time is one of them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it leads to stuff.
Certainly. Yeah.
Funny
9/11
stuff.
was an inside job.
Yeah. Any Pearl Harbor jokes?
No, I didn't see that movie.
Pearl Harbor was an inside job.
Yeah.
Well done.
A rim shot makes anything funny. Is that the key to comedy?
No, clearly not.
Oh.
It certainly doesn't hurt.
Well, you can keep doing it. And if you do it enough, it will turn
Oh,
around.
repetition.
Right? Yeah. It does. What is that? Like the cycle of comedy?
Yeah. Repetition is funny.
At what point does this get funny? Hang on.
Yeah. But then it's going to turn around. It's going to turn around very quickly.
Yeah.
It's
Nope,
turning.
Annoying.
Still, yep.
Annoying.
Still annoying. Starting to get funnier.
No, it's not.
There was that
It's
point.
not getting funnier.
We're gonna have to, no, there was a point where it
That
got
was
funny.
6.
It was,
There was a
yeah,
point
it
where
was
it
like
got
sex.
funny.
Wait, so it's what rule of 3? So we go 1, 3.
Yeah.
Fun,
I don't know. I don't know.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm getting too
First
nervous.
3 is funny.
It-
Number
right.
4
I mean,
is,
I could have done
is-
5 times as like, you know what I mean? And
I
just,
think
but
it was-
the amount of time was the same.
I think
Yeah.
it was that you made it funny.
Yeah, you started laughing. which
You
made it
started
funny,
laughing, and you
actually.
made a funny face, and we all
Yeah.
laughed.
Oh, that's weird because I guess I was laughing because it was funny.
No, you were laughing because you were trying to manipulate us.
You made it funny.
Yep.
So okay, it worked. I mean,
You-
that's
you-
oh,
you
man,
created
I
a formula
I
for
forgot to say this earlier, by the way. If we all just started like fake laughing,
Mhm.
there would become a point at which we would actually start laughing.
Yeah, we
for
laugh
real.
at the laughter that begat
Yeah.
the laughter.
Good point.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is always fun, I think.
If you're on mushrooms.
Mm.
What?
think-
I've never done that.
No.
I have such a great story about that, but I'm not going to tell it.
Because it wouldn't be funny. That wasn't funny.
I don't know if a rim shot was ever funny.
It must have been at one point.
No, it's a
No, it had to have
punctuation.
been.
Yeah, in the 40s or something, or the 30s.
Yep, that works.
Wow, I apologize.
goes like 20s, 30s. Boom, rim shot. Yeah, rim shot.
I feel like
rim shot.
it's time appropriate.
Say rim shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
So, just what? Just because people talked like that? Oh, by the way, why do you think people did talk like that?
Oh, that I saw a video. on
Yeah,
this
there was a
recently.
reason.
That's
Yeah.
Oh, well, no. So that's something else. That's different. That's the transcontinental.
Yeah, the transcendental.
the transcendental accent.
Oh.
I think it was a transcontinental accent.
Well done.
But that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I guess that is sort of it.
That was all that His Girl Friday and shit. Like,
Sure, but that wasn't a meh, say. That's not that.
it's the same shit. That was just the cops in those movies. Like,
That's what's Edward G.
Edward
J. Robinson.
Edward G.
Yeah.
Robinson.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
There it
yeah,
is.
that shit's funny.
Okay. Yeah, but it wasn't trying to be funny.
I wonder if Edward G. Robinson had any idea how much we talk about him and his voice right now.
And is it just funny because of the Looney Tunes?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, most of that stuff I'm only aware of because of Bugs Bunny cartoons and Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
Like,
but it was so. But
Charlie
but,
Chaplin gags were.
yeah, but
ruined
if you
way
had never
before
seen
ever.
that, and then somebody today started doing that voice
Mhm.
as a satire of a situation, it would still be funny. It wouldn't have needed Warner Brothers to
that
be
voice
funny.
in and of itself is
Right, that's what I'm saying.
amusing.
So yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like if you had never seen, if Warner Brothers didn't exist, it would still be funny.
So you're saying it wasn't funny when he first did it, though?
No, that's what I'm saying. No, it might. I don't think it was. I don't
Yeah,
think the intent of it was to be funny.
No, that was just.
There are some of the things that we don't think were intended to be funny, and then we kind of like laugh at it in a weird way, but they actually were intended to be funny, and it's okay to laugh at them. Citizen Kane, I think, is a good example of that, where there were like kind of goofy points. Where
Oh yeah, there's definitely
where it's
laugh
like,
moments in there.
Right.
That's-
Well, not only that, but they were like where people will laugh at it. I think it was like the I think it would be fun to run a newspaper, and he does that thing where it's like sort of stupid and goofy, but it was intended to be goofy as well.
Yeah,
like
'cause
even
it's-
then,
It was
like
like
making
the-
fun of Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, the public opinion of what those type of people were essentially. Or
Right. Exactly.
playing on stereotypes.
Right, and it was supposed to be goofy, so it's like they recognized that it was goofy.
I mean, if you're over the top, you're over the top. You're over,
Right.
You're
Yeah.
literally over the.
When I
It
turn
does-
my hat around, it's like flipping a switch.
I don't know what that's from.
Yeah, what is that?
Over the top.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
My bad. Where's Wheeler when you need him?
Yeah.
He's just- well, what's next? What's the next question for comedy then?
Oh, so what? Where do we go? Where does comedy go? What is the future?
Is
of
there a
comedy?
progression to comedy?
Yeah, so we had the comedy boom in the 80s that all kind of dried up with the writer's strike, unfortunately. But beyond that, we're starting to see...
No, there was a comedy boom in was it the 80s?
The 80s, yeah.
Yeah, it was in the 80s.
Oh,
was-
yeah, you're right. And then it kind of
Yeah, it
died
died
out
down
in like
in
the
the
mid
90s.
to late 90s.
Yep, exactly.
Like everything.
Yeah.
How do we know we're not living in the golden era of comedy
Well,
right
that's
now?
what
We
I'm asking.
are.
Yeah.
With podcasts, are we now in a place where comedy is self-sustaining? So most of the idea, the stand-ups that do podcasts basically just do podcasts to get more people into their stand-up act. The majority of their time is spent doing these things that are free to get people into places where they can be paid. So is that the new model going forward? That sort of niche marketing of cultivating yourself an audience of a few thousand loyal fans as opposed to millions of stadiums filled with people?
Well, I mean, I think it's about it's all about in terms of pop culture. I think it's the fracturing of the niche, and everything is it keeps going nichier and nichier and nichier. And with comedians, that's what's happening with the podcasts,
I like
right?
that,
Is
nichier.
they're fulfilling a very specific niche, and they're just trying to take a stronghold of their niche, and just and I think again, everything is going to diversify, and there's going to be honestly, I think there's going to be very little. Massively popular things anymore.
Well, maybe there's maybe it also has to do with the fact that the world is so blatantly fucked up right now that comedy is kind of necessary in a way.
Yeah.
The world is always fucked up, though. There's always going to be a place for comedy.
It's not always as blatantly in a weird way, less fix, it almost perceivably unfixable.
That might be, the internet.
And how much will the niche marketing of entertainment change the culture? Does that make us more isolationist? At least in the 80s, when we were all at home watching TV, we were watching the same TV. So when we went to work, we could talk about that TV show around the water cooler.
But now everybody's on Twitter. There's Reddit. What do you mean? Everybody's still just as social, just not physically. Like there's still just massive conversations about it on Reddit, Twitter, Facebook. It's still, it goes viral, so to speak.
But it's with the general public.
Yeah, there's just so
That
much
is the
more.
general public.
But there's so much more, and so the conversation is fleeting. And to me, someone that doesn't spend any time on Twitter just seems so ridiculously, uselessly ephemeral that there is nothing that is even worth participating in, because by the time you actually make a comment, the conversation is somewhere completely different. Much like talking to Wheeler.
But still,
You're kind of right.
I still don't understand your question then, as far as the niche market.
Well, is that going to cause more division than there already was? So, people used to complain about, not socializing.
Division in what though? Like people aren't going to find the same thing funny? Division, what do you mean?
So there's a shorthand that develops with people in, especially, those of us on the awkward side of the table.
Right.
That, we...
Which side is the awkward side?
My side, wherever my mic is the awkward side.
Oh, so then Joey by nature is part of the awkward side?
I think that's clear.
He's on the other side of the half round, but if he wants to be included with me, he's certainly welcome.
So there's a triangle. It's not necessarily so your side of the triangle.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
In more words than I needed to use, me. So
I'm sorry. Continue.
Yes. In my awkwardness in dealing with humanity, one of the crutches that I have always relied upon is that shared culture. That idea that we could throw out a movie quote that is going to instantly put us on the same page. We both know what that reference means. I don't have to explain it further. I've done a lot of that groundwork, of that sort of subtext, with just putting you in a time and a place. And is that going to be gone now? Is that shorthand of culture going to be gone? And is that going to be more detrimental even now because people are going to be so segregated?
Let me see if I can answer that question.
No.
Thumbs up emoji.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great
But you
point.
understood what I meant. There's no division there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose. So
I'm giving you the thumbs up via emoji.
We have a new shared culture, is what you're saying?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we always have a
evolving
shared culture. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a question of, if
It's
something...
getting bigger.
Yeah,
It's
it might
just-
feel ephemeral, but it's still getting to you.
It's just my problem of
You're
not
just afraid
participating.
of it. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you're also just... Yeah, exactly. You can be just as engaged online as you can in person. In many ways, more.
Oh, certainly.
Because you're
But
talking to thousands of people at once rather than
I feel
three.
like it's a passive versus a active sort of thing.
No, because
So-
if you're active within it, you can still be the one posting and kind of getting in there. And
Right. But the thing is, let's say 20 years ago, everyone was talking about Seinfeld. If you're
Well, that might not be true. Like there's the portion of people who watch Seinfeld, and there was the talk of the town, but I'm sure there was a large portion of people. I don't know if if a bunch of senior citizens were watching Seinfeld.
Okay, well, we'll
necessarily.
take it back before then. What about Dallas or something like that?
Exactly.
Where
Right, like
there
Who
was
Shot JR?
where there was
Yeah.
two
Right.
where there was two channels. He's what he's
Yeah.
saying. But obviously there's a shared culture.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
another
right?
so the more things there are, the less things that everybody watches, and thus
the less commonality there is.
the less
Yeah.
commonality
Is,
there is.
I mean, that's
Maybe.
just, to me, that's just
You're still gonna find
cold
common
truth.
ground, though.
I just don't know. Yeah, I'm just asking if that's detrimental, if that's going to have an impact on society.
No, because I think people are still going to want to people still want to connect to each other. So if you have nothing to connect to,
Well,
if
people do.
right, exactly. If you wanted to engage, for the people who want to engage, I don't want to engage. By the way, I have no interest in engaging with people either.
I do.
It's a question
I-
of the shared reality. Joey's like, I
Man.
do. For those
Someone
who
tried
want
to
to
talk to me at the
engage,
store the other day, and I just couldn't handle it.
take us through this. This sounds hilarious to me. Let's do a side. Go ahead.
Oh no, I have my earbuds in and I'm listening to my podcast, ignoring the world as always.
Okay.
And standing in line, and guys just, hey, what are you listening to? Podcast.
How dare he?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's weird. That's his problem.
that's.
What the fuck is
You
wrong
got
with
headphones
that guy?
on. The headphones mean, please don't speak to me.
Wait, are you being sarcastic? Because that's exactly where I'm at. But am I in the wrong place for that?
No, I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm clearly. It was his problem. Like he was the asshole.
Okay.
He
yeah.
was the weirdo. Like he was the weirdo in that situation.
Okay.
Because you're like, what? Okay, we can go deeper into the element of like whether or not you should be wanting to engage and shouldn't have headphones on while you're out.
Right.
That's besides the point. The fact of the matter is you had them in, and that's the signal to fuck off. I don't have any interest in talking to you.
Yeah.
So he was the fucking weirdo there.
It's the same thing as being on the phone. It's the same thing. Like I actually work, I work in like grocery retail, and we train is like don't try to
James Stahl.
Don't try to approach anybody who's on their phone. Like you can make eye contact and give them the "what's up" head nod. Like you can do that, but you don't actually try to talk to them.
Right.
Because
okay. I think it's a different judgment being on the phone and being on the headphones. I think the headphones is okay to interrupt. I think I like that guy, I gotta say, because I'm such a music snob. I like the idea that he's engaging and saying, "What are you listening to?" I like that. I like that he's trying to start a conversation about music. It's cool.
I'll give you that.
It's nice.
I'll give you that. I guess it's true.
All right. I mean, yes, it's kind of annoying if he's trying. Sean is obviously walking around trying to get to it. He's minding his own business.
Yeah, we're taking it with the fact that we know Sean.
Yeah.
So it's fair.
But if he's like, if he's walking around with like, I don't know. I guess you're right.
I don't like him, but I think you have a point. You're right.
I don't totally hate the guy. I guess
I don't hate him either. I'm just saying whether he was right or wrong or weird. And I guess you're right. If his intent was to kind of like engage in a music sense, right? And he wanted to talk about music in a way.
Now, if he was funny, that would have been okay.
Well, I'm assuming he's got some musical interest.
Yeah, but I don't know how you start that conversation.
I was just trying to transition.
Like, I guess the only way to really start it, like, sort of funny, but it would only be funny to the outside viewer, is if, like, you came up and just took the headphones out and put them in your own ear. Like, that's really funny.
That is really funny.
And and even if somebody who's listening, like, if you really did that, and it was, like, I think most people might, I don't know, there's like a 50-50 shot that the person would either laugh or be like, the fuck's wrong with you, man? Yeah. But even still, the fuck's wrong with you is still funny.
Yeah,
so it's still...
This is a good reality show we should start doing.
Taking headphones. That's disgusting.
Just fucking with strangers.
So gross.
What are you listening to with Joseph Bonier?
It just comes up in different ways. Hey guys. But I was going somewhere else before. What was I saying? No. Fuck, man. I had it. No, I had it, and I can get it back. Give me a second.
Okay.
We're doing the fucking thing.
The comedy, and the guy with the stuff,
things, headphones,
Carlin.
engaging. So a question of like the niche group, like, and so I think people are still going to try to find commonality no matter what, because that's the way people engage. Period. So if you don't watch the same show I do, then we're going to try to find something that we can both talk about because of the nature of the fact that we're talking. I don't want me in there again. He just slides it in. Randomly.
Wow.
Just out of nowhere. I don't hate Hillary Clinton at all. But we'll find something to talk about. And if we don't find anything, then we probably aren't going to be friends, necessarily speaking, right? So if you just like keep talking about The Walking Dead and I don't watch The Walking Dead and you keep trying to explain to me to tell me to watch the fucking Walking Dead, I'm not like, we're not going to that conversation is not going to last that long, because at a certain point I'm going to be like, would you stop fucking talking about, I don't watch it, I don't know what you're talking about. In the same way that like I'm not like passing judgment on Walking Dead, I would, but I'm not going to. But again, if I just keep talking to you about all right, if I suddenly start like talking to you guys about James Joyce's Ulysses and I go on, and you guys are like, yeah, sure, I have an idea what you're talking about. Right, exactly. And I'm not, it's not relevant to what we're talking about.
Oh, I hit the wrong one.
Jesus, Sean.
What were you trying to do?
That one. That was funnier.
Is that a steamboat?
Neither was funny. What are you talking about? The point is the conversation wouldn't last as long if I continue with something that we don't have a shared commonality for. So, no, I don't think it's going to be more divisive because of human nature. I think if people who are going to try to connect, they're going to connect over something that they can both, relate to.
I want to make a joke that I've been waiting to make for a really, really long time.
Funny.
Wow. I know it's not going to be funny, but it's about Nietzsche, and I wanted to call it the Uber-Nietzsche.
So it's Nietzsche.
James, did you laugh? Please tell me you laughed.
He's laughing at you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he's laughing at you.
Okay, I'll take one.
He's laughing at you, though.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'll
that's
take it.
fair. I guess that's fine.
I'll take it.
There's
Clown.
plenty of comedians who just want to be laughed at.
Yeah, that's the fool.
I'm a clown.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess I missed the joke. What was the joke?
Nietzsche's whole thing is the Ubermensch.
Right.
So I turned it into the Uber-Nietzsche. Because you're talking about the niche of this global community, the niche above the niche, if you will.
It's like micro.
I
and
thought it
macro
was
at the same
okay.
time.
Oh, I get it. That's funny.
It's not bad. I mean, obviously, we went through the entire process of me explaining it, so we just pretty much explained why.
Yeah, but it might have just been because I was stupid.
Comedy's always
I didn't
funny
catch
when
it
you
at
explain
first.
it.
Yeah, it's great.
Uber niche.
I'm glad we went through this.
The Uber. You would like what would have been funny is like it's the Uber Nietzsche.
I know.
That's funny.
You're right. I didn't want to mispronounce.
But even still, it's not funny. Like I don't understand what's not related to anything.
It could lay off.
If there was something going on that
Thanks, James.
uber niche.
Thanks, James.
Like if it was like, and we would have had to have been talking about Nietzsche before.
We were at some point.
Well,
but-
He
said no, he didn't. He just said Nietzsche, and I wanted to say it right after then, but there was no place to do it. So I've been waiting for
Sorry about Nietzsche.
comedy timing.
I've been talking about it. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, I don't think it was funny. Like ultimately, the joke in and of itself.
Well,
is
I knew it
sort of
wasn't going to be funny. I tried to preface it with saying
It's just unrelated. Was the point? So like, it usually has to be related to something that's going on. It can't just be out of nowhere.
Is that part of the comedy thing? Or is that part of the disrespect for comedy in that, like, when comedy doesn't work, it's offensive? Whereas, like, if drama doesn't work, it's just boring. But bad comedy it feels like a waste, or it feels more impactful?
No, because there's this division there of what you're talking about. I mean, you already presuppose that when bad comedy is bad, it is offensive, and I don't think that's necessarily true. Like, I'm not offended by his joke; it was just bad.
Hey,
you know what I mean? In the same way,
Sounds like you were.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going off of there. You were fairly rage filled.
Well, yeah, but I'm offended by bad art too, so it's the same thing. So you know what I mean?
He's a passionate
but most
man.
people aren't. It's not. They aren't offended in the way that you mean offended.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But I'm mad if I'm not
As hell,
entertained.
and you're not going
period.
to take it anymore.
If I'm not entertained by something, I get a little mad because I'm like, I invested time into
how
that.
dare you waste my time?
Right? Yeah. Basically, I don't know what it is.
Exactly.
So,
So I guess my point there is,
Sure,
is
yeah.
it not more is that anger more quantifiable when it's comedy because you didn't laugh, as opposed to being distraught that something wasn't as dramatic as you had hoped it would be?
well, if you're framing it that way, of course, yeah. But if something isn't as
I guess it's the cost benefit
Actually,
ratio.
no, not really. Like if I sit through a 3-hour like drama that was supposed to be amazing and enlightening, and it was ultimately kind of stupid and trite, then I'm probably going to be just like way fucking angrier than if you
than a
told
bad
me a
comedy?
bad joke, like just a shitty joke.
That's a good
I'm going to
point.
be way madder at the 3-hour thing
yeah.
if it is time investment.
Definitely.
Well,
I think
I
it's
guess
time.
the more adequate comparison would be the 3-hour crappy drama versus a 3-hour comedy that you don't find funny.
Well, no, I'm equally mad.
Okay.
It could be money too. Time is money. I mean, you could be more money you spend.
Yeah,
on
I'm
it.
equally mad at the amount of like time I've wasted. I might be more angry at maybe I'm more angry at the comedy because it's like you wasted my time so aggressively. You know what I mean? Like it's like a 3-hour comedy is insane. I don't even know what that would be. That sounds horrible.
You know what?
Or like at least they're trying something.
It
with
brings
the
me up to a
drama,
good
and
point that
if it fails-
Carlin used to say about movies. He used to be like, I can't really hate a movie because you think about all the people involved in it.
Yeah.
So when you're like
Yeah.
thinking about like stand-up comedy, it's like, oh, this one person didn't make me laugh. But when it's like a
Right.
movie, it's like, oh my God, there were 300 people that worked on this film. Like even if it didn't completely make you, enjoy it, it's still a huge work there. You have to kind of admire it in some way.
Yeah. Most people say they don't know if working on
Not
a good
every movie. Obviously, there are,
Yeah,
pieces
I guess
of
that's part of
shit.
it. That's part of it that kind of might frustrate me too. Is like if the movie got made, but it's so blatantly bad,
Yeah.
then that kind of frustrates me just like much less actually than a bad joke.
Sean, what's your least favorite movie?
I don't know if I have a least favorite movie. That's a good
He loves
question.
everything.
I don't know. Yeah,
do you
I
hate?
kinda
Do
love
you hate
pretty
movies?
hard.
Is there a movie you
No,
hate?
not really. Not really. No, I kind of respect the process. And I'll put it this way. Here's the best way to put it. I remember everybody was talking about The Room. They were like, The Room is hilarious. It's a funny movie, whatever.
The
Or like
Room or
Troll
Room?
2.
Sure.
The Room.
Okay.
Tommy Wiseau's Room.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Not Room. Not Room at all. And Troll 2 might be a better example, but either way, like those awesomely bad movies were like, oh, but it's just so bad, like you have to laugh.
Uh-huh.
I don't find it very funny because it's kind of sad to me. It's like somebody actually tried really hard
It's interesting.
to make a movie.
It's
And
interesting.
It's a little bit heartbreaking, and it's like it's just not that this person cared enough to make this movie,
That's
and
actually
they
a
were
really good
really
point.
fucking terrible at it. It's like that's not funny, man. Why you? And they're like laughing at him, and if he was right there in the room, and you're like laughing at that, like that would be kind of mean.
You're right. It's a great one.
You know what I
Have
mean?
you ever
So-
seen American Movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
American
documentary
movie.
about the guy making the Coven movie?
Yeah, exactly. Same kind of thing.
I mean, you say you couldn't laugh at that? You don't find that funny?
It's just sad. It
It's
bums me
really-
out.
No, American. Yeah, that movie.
What
is
Windy
really
City
good.
Heat. I want to see if you would like Windy City Heat.
Windy City Heat.
Yeah.
Maybe he would. Maybe
I
he would.
can't watch Windy City Heat
You
Yeah.
can't? Why not,
Why?
James?
It's like one of
No,
those bad movies.
because it's too mean.
Mm.
Like, no, it's
I
just
can
too
see
mean.
that.
Like,
I can see it.
it's I can't do it. I
Yeah.
have no doubt it's hilarious, but like it just strikes me as it's just too mean.
Sean, what can you explain the plot? Windy City Heat?
Oh, I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't actually seen it. I just know kind of the basis of it.
Exactly. My understanding is they take a gentleman who is not the smartest person in the world. I don't know that he's necessarily diagnosable with anything, but
no, he's just kind of a dumb guy.
Yeah, he's just he's not quite on the retard spectrum or whatever.
You could have said retarded. Retard would have been funny. I love he growled at me. I love how he growled at me. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, basically, so they put him in this movie about him, but he doesn't realize that it's actually they're making a movie about him. So it's almost like a Truman Show-esque sort of thing.
Oh, that's kind of mean-spirited.
Well,
and it's especially because like they make like he's like an action hero. So like it's not just a movie about him and his life. It's about like him casting him as this action hero.
Aww.
And like it's just
yeah. I think they're like telling him he's in a big movie or something, and he's just in.
But Sean, what happens if he really does believe it and he gets such enjoyment out of it and he thinks he's a star? You don't think that's a good in some way?
So what end? What do you mean?
I don't know. I mean, the star. He thinks he's an action star.
Yeah, he got to
when
star
he sees the movie. Ultimately, is it going to be? What happens when he sees the movie?
Oh,
does he think he's doing an amazing job?
What does he think? Actually, I think he still thinks he's.
Well, I think he's in on the joke.
Does he? I forget. Actually,
I mean, I haven't seen it.
No, I don't think he's in on the joke. Still, is he?
Or at least he's aware of it.
Well,
whether or not he finds it funny or is on board with it, but I think he understands.
Yeah, you're okay. Obviously, he understands it's not a movie, but I don't know. I don't think he still is laughing.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie and I don't know enough about it.
Well, no. So again, like if someone thinks they're doing an amazing job as an actor,
then.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Hypothetically,
Yeah.
if somebody thinks they're doing an amazing job as an actor, and then the movie comes out and everybody's fucking howling with laughter, because of the fact that they're so blatantly terrible at acting, and they never find out about that, then there is no kind of value lost because it doesn't matter, and they just become a huge star. But at some point,
it's reality TV,
right? Exactly. But
is it okay?
Well, no, not necessarily, because people in reality TV are kind of aware of the performance.
Sometimes
they're exploited
for the most part, and they might be exploited. But when they're exploited, they don't think they did a great job. And they instantly get frustrated and mad.
Look at Honey Boo Boo.
And I
was going to say Honey Boo Boo is great.
What about?
I mean, don't look at Honey Boo Boo at all.
What about her?
Well, I mean, that just seems like complete exploitation that just compounds itself by.
That's what I'm saying, right? And then years from now, when she kind of eventually like has consciousness over the fact of why people are fucking laughing at her,
but the mom does. The mom has complete consciousness. She's aware. She's an adult.
You think she's aware that people are laughing at her?
She's got to be.
I mean, she literally goes to Vegas right now and like charges people for parties. She's aware of her celebrity.
But again, she's playing that role. That's the distinction between reality TV. It's not like she's trying to be.
You think that's a part? You think that's
and it's not. It's not as equatable.
Is that
it's
her
hard
Tony
to
Clifton?
equate. Yes, basically, right. It's not as equatable to.
But she has to live with that.
No, but I don't mean that. I don't mean it that way either. Okay, hang on. Let's take a step back. What I'm saying is that the guy actually trying to be in a movie is performing with a capital P, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is trying to act, and they're doing, and he's obviously
he's just not good at it.
He's just not good at it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas everyone on reality TV is performing with a lowercase p. Right, so they might be aware of their persona. They know that it's them, and even if it is them, right? They still then that's all the more reason for them to say, oh, whatever, I'm me. I am who I am. Go fuck yourself if you don't like me. You know what I mean? Which again is part of the performance as well, and kind of that shield. But they didn't put themselves out there. You know what I mean?
I mean, by that respect, isn't all of humanity a performance?
Well, yes, but the question is, is anyone trying? The second you try to the second you step on the stage or in front of the camera and you actually try to do the craft of acting, performance with a capital P, it becomes something else, and it's more courageous than just being you, quote unquote, you with the lowercase p.
If you read like Oscar Wilde's central conceit is that everybody puts on a performance and you hide your true self from everybody around you.
Right. Picture it.
And he actually encourages that as a notion.
Right, and I
so it's still a
to that.
performance, even if it's not in front. Like it's a different audience, but it's still a performance for an audience.
So in this 1984 world that we're finding ourselves ever increasingly in, where we're surrounded by cameras constantly, isn't everything becoming a capital P essentially?
No, because you are still being you. You're not. So the craft of acting. right? Or the craft of writing. I mean, everybody. So it's the equivalent of like writing a novel versus writing a novel on Facebook for everybody, to like just read, as like just a kind of the intention is different ultimately. Usually, there's more of your heart and soul. Again, we're back into the question of art, right? Of what is art, what's the artistic thing, and I would say ultimately the distinction there is kind of the courage, again the capital C, the artistic courage versus the public courage.
Yeah,
I guess that's the difference.
Like I said, we will have to have an entire show for us to debate what art is.
Right. Yeah.
I have great differences there.
But I guess all I'm saying is that it would be more disheartening. It's sadder to me to see people laughing at somebody on a stage doing a terrible job acting as it is for somebody in a reality show doing a terrible job as themselves.
Yeah, I have the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Oh, you think it's sadder for them being themselves?
I think it's
everybody
sad.
laughing
Yeah,
at them?
I think reality television that makes what like Honey Boo Boo and like all those kinds of shows that just like catfish, like the Catfish show or whatever, like all that stuff. I find that super depressing.
Yeah.
Like at least like when you watch those crappy movies, like those people got paid. Like they made money. They were doing a job. Right?
I feel much better about watching Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Okay,
than I do
yes. So
from-
the the exploitation version of it, absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you there. Yeah, for sure. I'm less inclined. Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess my point is that people would laugh at the guy on the stage, and I wouldn't laugh at either Honey Boo Boo or the guy on the stage.
I'm a heartless individual. We've already established that. But I've been in situations or in places observing stand-up comedy, especially open mic nights,
right?
Where I am laughing, but
too.
not why they want me to be laughing.
Oh, that is sad.
And that, and that
I like that actually. I think that's kind of funny.
And so
I just force it. I just force the laugh to try and I don't know. I give them what they want.
Well, no,
you're such a nice guy.
Yeah, I can't.
It's scary,
really
man.
are
It's
a nice
scary to like
person.
act or write or anything. It's an
You
artistic
fake
courage
laugh for someone. That's
I just perform it. I'm actually laughing. I find something sort of like that's vaguely funny and what there's. I think it's more the craft, and I don't know. I trick myself into actually laughing.
whatever you're doing. It's quite a generous
Thank
effort.
you. Yeah, it is definitely an effort, though.
In an effort to
Jesus
be
Christ, it's a fucking effort. I've been to so many fucking goddamn terrible comedy shows.
in an effort to be human, I will certainly try and laugh when the punchline is thrown and when they expect laughter.
Sure.
What I'm talking about is when the laughter shouldn't be happening and I am laughing at them regardless.
Yeah.
So one of the things that always sticks out in my mind is a fumbling comedian was on stage when it was an open mic night, and he wasn't getting any laughs, and he was just kind of fumbling through things, and then he says, "Okay, here's something that's funny." And to me, that was just, so against everything that is.
Right. Is it? Is it something that's supposed to be funny?
Exactly.
How convenient that you happen to be on stage doing stand-up.
And that was
wonderful. You've come to the right place, sir.
And
Let's hear what funny thing you're talking about.
Mine was his first and only laugh in that whole thing.
Right.
And so,
but it's a funny, yeah, you're right. But the funny thing is, it's like that. It's a shame that he probably obviously didn't catch the fact that saying that was funny.
Right.
But maybe someday he might recognize the fact that saying that is sort of in itself funny.
Probably not.
I suppose, but then
Maybe not, but somebody would. We all just did.
We all did.
Sorry, Jim.
Like as somebody who's been on stage and been bombing, like you recognize that you're bombing, and then you can try to make jokes off your bombing. Like
Johnny Carson.
Yeah. So I made a joke my first time up. My friends who had come to the show had laughed, and so I thanked the laughing section of the crowd, and that was the best joke, and that was just
that is pretty
Oh,
funny.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's good.
How terrible I was doing
Right.
up there. So like even in that moment, he might have done that, but like he maybe not. But it's possible to do that.
Well, here's another topic that we can talk about. I think we're good on that one, right? We're good there.
Here's something that's funny.
Everyone good there?
Yeah, let's segue.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say. I thought we were done.
Go for it.
I wasn't sure. Should there be things that
I was making a joke.
Are there things
as a
that...
callback to a reference to what we were just talking about?
Nice. I'm on.
Oh my God,
my fat fingers.
Jesus, this fat finger thing is now a callback.
I don't know if it's fat fingers. I think it's because you don't look at it.
I need glasses.
Like,
He's calling out
then
your
obviously
game.
that's the problem. You can't fucking see it. Of course you're going to hit the wrong
Sean,
thing.
you used your finger horizontally to the piano, to the keyboard.
It's
it's
like
also
a
at the
45
wrong-
degree angle.
Yeah, he should be just pressing it, vertically, but
Yeah.
he's going the wrong angle. That's his problem, people.
I'm not a musician.
That was funny.
Yay.
Should there be things in comedy, or should there be things that are off limits? Are there things that are off limits in comedy?
No.
I don't think so, but I'll say
There
something
are.
that Corolla does. Corolla thinks so. At least I'll quote him. He says that if people have if the bodies are still fresh, he doesn't like to make a joke about it. So if it is like a tragedy, like that's recently happened, he will not. He thinks that is off topic.
Well,
And
then
I actually don't disagree with that. Sean, what do you think?
Oh no, I was just thinking there's Gilbert Godfrey after 9/11. He was famously
Too
like
soon.
the first one to come out and start making those jokes. And I mean, to me, that's absolutely necessary.
I think it was during a roast too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think.
Yeah.
Do you remember how he pulled that together?
I
he
don't
did right
remember
after
the
it?
exact.
He
Yeah,
did
go for it.
the long-standing bit.
You got it.
Aristocrats?
Very good.
About it.
Very good. Yeah, I said he was in the. Everybody started booing him in the thing, and then all of a sudden, he's.
Oh,
like,
he does the 9/11
Yeah,
joke
he's
and then
like-
goes into the aristocrats.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And-
he does the
did.
aristocrats. Yeah,
And it was, it was the only way for him to save it. So he
Gotcha.
did the 9/11 joke,
That's
which
really
bombed, and
interesting.
everybody was booing. And then all of
Right
a sudden, he's like, a man walks into a talent agent's
Yeah.
office. He says, "I got a great thing." Anyway,
Yeah.
It's not bad.
so the
decent
bodies are
Gilbert.
still fresh. You're saying that's so. You say there's a point at which you have to kind of wait a little bit before
Comedy
something
plus
is
tragedy.
funny.
Or,
Time.
Time
Yeah.
plus
Well,
tragedy.
okay.
Yeah.
How about we got Anthony Jeselnik's kind of
you're
kind of
right.
perspective.
He's
where it's
very
not-
funny.
It's like right off. I think what was it? There was the thing that got him fired off the show. Actually, was
What show?
or not fired off the show. Well, he had the Jeselnik experience.
Oh, gotcha.
It didn't get fired,
Yeah.
but they didn't pick it up again. Was the so let me think. I don't know if I'm gonna get this right. It was right after the Boston bombing. And his whole thing is going onto Twitter immediately afterwards
Yeah.
to do something off of whatever it is, right? And so
First.
for the
First.
right there you go, shared experience.
Wow, I can't believe you even knew that.
Yeah, what the fuck? He's so his
I'm
and,
old school internet.
and he's done
job.
several different things like this, which are all equally hilarious. Some actually a little bit funnier. But the Boston bombing one he did is everybody was expecting him. Everybody was expecting him to come on, and so he went on Twitter and what he tweeted was, "You guys, on a day like this, sometimes some lines just can't be crossed."
Wow. Now, here's the thing: is I think Jeselnik has kind of crossed into another territory where it's almost now it's expected that he makes the crass
Yeah.
joke, that he can get away with all of it.
Well, it's like South Park. I mean, they've
you
But
can't-
it's always satire. That's the thing. I don't
He
know.
cr- he
crossed into
definitely-
another thing. I don't know if it's a question of him
No,
or it's a
I
question
think-
of his.
I think he can
satire.
say jokes that other people can't. I do. I think because he's Anthony Jeselnik. He's got the reputation.
No. I don't know if it's a reputation or if it's the fact that he's worked so fucking hard
Maybe.
at understanding that
he's
type
good
of
at
humor.
he's good at walking the line, that's for sure. He's
Yeah.
very good at
Exactly.
it.
And he's worked hard as fuck to do
It's
it.
calculated.
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
he's on stage right now. Or no, he will be in like an hour at the Comedy Store.
sorry you're missing it.
It's fine.
No, that's a bummer.
I was gonna go last night, but I went Wednesday and Thursday, and then I had tickets for last night, and he was there. But it was the same. Like they all fucking they didn't see me, and they're gonna fuck with me. I'm like, dude, it's your third night in a row. You're here. Get the fuck out of here.
He's fucking nerd in the front row.
So, but I think it's I don't know if it's necessarily the person, but I think it's if you work hard enough, you can make anything funny. If something is funny because something is funny.
Yeah,
You know what I
but
mean?
there are jokes that you can't really. There are specific jokes you can't tell anymore that are based off
sure.
of that were jokes in the past that were jokes that were just basically, racist or
You're talking about Polish
misogynist.
jokes, right?
Yeah, like Polish jokes. Yeah, but that thing too. That
Sean,
too.
how dare you.
Like it, like there are jokes that you can't like.
Well-
There's certainly those kind of jokes that like they're just not funny.
That's the
Like-
thing. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
they're not funny. I'm not saying that like whether you can tell them or not. I'm saying that they're no longer funny.
Sure.
Well, that's implying that they were funny to begin with.
They might have been funny before because of the way the culture was.
Well, yeah, and this is something I've talked about before, probably not on this show, but anyways, Gallagher. So there's
Yeah.
this sort of, that quick resurgence of Gallagher. I think when he was on Marin, was that the famous
Yeah.
thing where he walks off?
Oh yeah.
So, they talk about how Gallagher is, this sort of racist comedian and like how he's very not with the times.
Mhm.
And well, I guess not with the times is more my argument is that when you go back and watch old school Gallagher stuff, it's just as fucking racist as anything he says now.
Mhm.
It's ridiculously racist and homophobic and anti damn near everything.
Mhm.
And the crowd is with it though.
Right.
The crowd is, that culture was acceptable at
Right.
that point. So, I mean, does time change things, or does the culture changing things
Yes,
make
of course.
things not funny? then?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the culture. I mean, the culture changes. Like, you could, you could drop, the F word,
The fuck word?
like back in like back in like the 80s, and it would have been funny, or even
Right.
in like the 90s. But now, like just calling somebody an F word like that, it was intrinsically funny back then. It's not funny now.
Yeah. Now you have to say the fuck word to make it funny.
Yes.
Or you got to add like kind of an infinitive before it.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question about Gallagher. Wait, so we didn't talk about Gallagher's other half. Is his
Gallagher
whole,
too?
his smashing, right?
Oh, that other half.
Like,
the
I
other
think-
half of his show.
I think that obviously it's interesting, and it's kind of my point earlier about some things are translatable. I think actually that smashing is translatable
Oh,
to
yeah.
that's transcends
That's still
times.
funny.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay, who you are? That
that's
shit's
fine, of
funny.
course.
So I mean, I do think it's interesting to note that even Gallagher, who's you're right, you're going off on how racist and stuff. He does have a whole other half that is somewhat translatable, even though I guess he would.
I
Some
don't
of
know
it
if it's
is racist.
translatable. It's just still funny. Okay, you know what? Here's a more a slightly more topical version of that. Not of that, but of the comedy becoming no longer
Because
funny.
I'm
Jerry
holding Gallagher
Seinfeld
was 30 years ago.
Well, no, I just mean Jerry. Like, so
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld recently, right, got criticized or kind of has spoken out against the PC culture,
The colleges.
against-
Right.
right? Because the college thing, exactly. And the
No
joke
comedian wants to
specifically-
play at a college.
Right, exactly, because they're all kind of too PC. And the joke specifically that he got criticized for was people are always reading their emails on their iPhones. They're kind of swiping with their hands going up like this, right? They're just one finger swiping going up like a gay king, just swiping going up. And you guys laugh. That's funny. And the gay king
king.
element of it,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
people were like, oh, you're gonna say gay king, or gay king, and so, but it's the gay element of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where that's supposedly not funny in some context in some cultures, but the other element of it too is that it might be funny to some people simply because of the word gay,
Yeah.
whereas in many ways that joke in and of itself isn't even really, it doesn't make any sense otherwise. Like kings don't do that either way. Like,
Well,
you know what I
they
mean?
do
like
go
a
like-
dismissive king would make more sense.
Yeah.
Well, dismissive.
So if he's
yeah.
like a dismissive king is what he's
Pompous
doing.
king, yeah.
Right. But is the joke then funny, less funny? Is it not even funny in the first place? Like the other
Yeah.
problem is too, is like nobody actually does this with their emails. Like with Tinder thing.
My mom
if
does
it's like a
that with
Tinder
their
thing,
emails.
that can
Old
work.
people do that with their emails.
Mm.
My mom does
Yeah,
that
but then-
literal
but-
motion that you're doing right there.
Which is fine, but then you probably still wouldn't use gay king or anything like that, because the joke there actually is the fact that old people don't understand technology. So you'd have to make a reference to that in a sense of like so like a kid trying to put
but to him, his whole world is old people. He's an old person.
Yeah.
No,
He's Jerry
what-
Seinfeld. He's 60.
I get it. What I'm saying is where the comedy in the joke lies was
I know.
missed. So it's just not a funny joke without the word gay, because there's no connection to it.
I kind of agree.
However,
there.
if
I
you're
kind
saying
of
like a
agree.
dismissive king, okay, if it was a grinder
dismissive
joke,
king-
then it would have been funny.
But then
People are like kind of, people are just going through this.
He
through
doesn't-
grinder
yeah.
like that, like a king, like a gay king. That's funny.
there were entire
Because then it's, you're rooted in it. Boom, I just fixed Jerry Seinfeld's joke. I'm funnier than Jerry Seinfeld.
Damn.
You did improve. You improved
I'm
his.
kidding
You did
around.
improve his joke. It's true.
Well, there are entire genres of 80s that were, centered around the idea of, the gay joke, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
there-
gay panic jokes.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just saying like gay panic jokes. Like it might be a different thing that we're thinking about,
No, no.
but like the entire thing of like how crazy and scary it would be for any like two men to catch the gay or something along those lines. Like, am I secretly gay? Like that was a level those level of humor for quite a long time.
Yeah, there were, like I said, tons of 80s movies that were based around, is he gay? He doesn't have the girl, so he must be gay. There's this whole queer and fag thing. Like, that was just words that were thrown around in our youth that you are not allowed to use in general context anymore. And so is that, again, just a relic of time? Is that him going back to a well that he should have abandoned?
Well, it sounds, yes. I think it's a question of not should have been, just has been, and thus people are like, "Why are you pulling from that well?"
Exactly. Well, yeah, everyone else abandoned it, so he should have too.
I don't know why that's the exactly. But also again, like, but I said in a way that it can work if it's kind of like connected to and relatable. If the only reason the joke is funny is because you said the word gay, then of course it's not. It's probably not going to be very funny.
Well, there's many jokes that are only funny because you said fuck or because you said penis.
Honestly, you the way you said it was funny. I almost laughed at the cadence of your rhythm, the way you said it. So
you guys did laugh at the joke.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying 50% or more was the way you said it.
Okay, so it might have just been the cadence too.
That's Seinfeld's whole thing. We established.
Exactly.
He made a way. Exactly. He has a system of
You happen
comedy.
to have a very similar cadence to Seinfeld, so it definitely works.
And like Jeff Foxworthy, you establish a rhythm that you can plug anything into,
right?
And then that is
people just kind of laugh by involuntary response because they think they're supposed to. You mean
it's a comedy machine? Yeah, there are certain triggers that will elicit timing of comedy.
Right. Okay.
Timing of
it's also mood. Like you can build. It's like momentum. Like you do. You do 4 jokes, even if the 5th one is subpar. That's still going to be laughed probably even harder than the first 4, just because they built up to that point.
Yeah,
totally.
So then it's then good to answer my own question. No, I don't think anything is off limits. If something's funny, it's funny. You can joke. You should be able to joke. You can. I think you should. You ought to be allowed to joke about anything. And the arbiter of whether or not the joke works is whether or not the joke itself is funny, regardless of the topic. If something's not funny, if something is outdated,
is a person laughing the vote?
Any individual person laughing?
Yeah.
It depends. If it's just like if it's the 3 of us without microphones and we all laugh, then obviously the intent was fine and you joked about whatever you want, whether we were 3 racist guys or not. And then we said just, some N-word joke and that's what we all laughed because it was a fucking, a racist joke basically.
Yeah.
Then, sure, it got the desired response and it still is, philosophically valid as far as what I'm talking about. Once you throw the microphones on there, it becomes not funny anymore because it's just not, it's outdated. It's not the culture. And it's also fucking, it's not funny in the sense of it's easy, it's cheap, and it's mean-spirited. That's the problem. If a joke is mean-spirited, again, like we said before, it's less funny to most people.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like some mean-spirited comedy.
Context. Like if you're at a Klan rally, that shit's gonna go over like gangbusters. Like,
well, again, I know, but then that's still mean-spirited, so it's not gonna go over like gangbusters. But once we kind of put a camera on it.
But just because it's mean-spirited, I don't think that necessarily discounts it as being comedy.
Yeah, is Mark Maron mean-spirited? Is Don Rickles mean-spirited? Yeah. Is a roast mean-spirited? Roasts are
not mean-spirited.
Jeff Ross is not mean-spirited sometimes.
No, he's not trying to fucking hurt the guy. The whole point of it is to.
Oh, maybe Jeff Ross is great at it. But
it's within context.
But there are some people at those roasts that are definitely mean-spirited.
Usually not the comedians, but yeah.
No, I don't think so. No, because it's the nature of the moment. That the roast, the whole point of the roast is to make fun of the person. So if somebody comes out and doesn't make fun of them, it's whatever. But the whole point of it in and of itself,
okay.
It takes the
there's
whole
a range of jokes
mean-spirited.
that you can make that are some that are appropriate and some that are mean-spirited.
There are some that are appropriate and mean-spirited.
I guess that's not the scale.
What,
that's not
right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if a joke is mean-spirited, I would say for most people it becomes less funny. I
don't disagree there.
You know what I mean? Like if I just sort of like if there's this like real kind of hardcore go-getter, like the fastest dude who's like, or in the LA Marathon, like there's just kind of a guy kind of like running whatever, but he's clearly in shape. And then some like snarky little kid just like trips him real quick. That's vaguely funny. But if there's an old person walking and a kid like, physically runs over and pushes him over just to hurt the guy, it's less funny.
Is anyone wearing a sumo suit?
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
But again, because if anyone is wearing a sumo suit,
is any Benny Hill music
the presupposition is no one's going to get hurt.
Yeah. Benny Hill music.
Benny Hill music.
Do we have Benny Hill music?
No.
That would help.
Yeah, that would make it fun.
But a slide whistle? I'll take a slide whistle.
It's no longer mean-spirited. The intent of it is to make people laugh.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, it's okay. I'm sorry. Not just the intent of it, but the...
Yeah, I mean, there's some of that jackass stuff that is definitely...
Yeah, but they're doing it to themselves.
Not always.
I think this is a taste thing. I really do. I think this is more of a taste thing.
Yeah. I think you're
I think you
up
just
in your
don't. You just don't
artistic
enjoy.
high castle.
I just don't think you enjoy mean-spirited comedy, and some other people.
Okay,
enjoy
well then
more.
put it this way. Then why? No, it's not a question of me enjoying it. I'm saying the majority of people would be less inclined to laugh at something that's mean-spirited versus something that is all in good fun. As it were.
I don't know if it's the
agree with
majority.
that.
That might be.
Yeah.
Jackass is pretty goddamn popular.
I mean,
Yes, and I agree, and I don't think that's
camera shows are
mean-spirited.
popular all the
Oh, you don't
time.
think Okay.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think it's mean-spirited though. That's what
There's
I'm saying.
some stuff that they play jokes on their friends and put pubes in their friends' faces and stuff.
Of course, and that's not mean-spirited.
That's not
Really?
mean-spirited.
Not in the context of what they're doing. It's the same thing as a fucking roast. Like, obviously, in Jackass, the whole point, they're not trying to fucking
Okay.
kill each other. If someone shoots someone on Jackass, you think people are going to laugh? Like,
Depends
shoots
on
them in
the
the face to
context.
fucking murder them? You think that's going to be funny?
That's a definite extreme, but
That's what I'm saying. It's a question of the spirit of it.
Okay.
You're taking it to like Jackass extreme, obviously. Like if it's just the three of us in a room and I like, okay, if I like pinch you, that's vaguely funny. If I fucking punch you in the face, that's way less funny.
depends on the
Again, depends on,
perspective.
right, exactly. Depends
Yeah.
on the perspective, depends on the point, depends on how and why.
yeah, okay.
So,
yeah,
but
I mean,
okay, then I'll put it this way then. What would make something not funny then? Or then is everything funny in your context? Like, why would something not be
yeah, to
be
me,
a funny
nothing's
joke?
off limits.
I didn't say off limits. I said what makes a joke that is on the edge of being, PC or not PC,
Yeah.
funny or not funny. I'm suggesting it's the question of mean spirit and being kind of with the times. Is what can assist it.
Yeah, I certainly
Part of it.
understand
Definitely
that.
part of it.
Yeah, and that can factor in, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that is the dividing line.
No.
No, I don't. I think it's a gray area. I don't think it's the line. I
Yeah,
think it helps.
It's all gray.
So then, but then what else is there then?
There's the way it's delivered.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the mechanics of it, I suppose, the structure of it, right?
Okay.
I
There's
think
also the person who's doing it.
And the person
Like,
receiving
that's a
it.
good point. There is the
Yeah.
person who's doing it. That's a good point. The messenger does matter sometimes.
But
Yeah.
in what way does the messenger matter and why?
Oh, the messenger matters. Is that if you're doing like culturally sensitive jokes and you're not part of that culture,
Mhm.
like there's a good chance that you are going to be viewed as less authentic as somebody who is from that culture who's making the same cultural references and the same cultural jokes.
So you don't understand it if you're coming from the outsider's perspective.
Well, but it's like, you don't understand who
Yeah.
we are, yet you're making jokes about us.
We were
so
talking
then,
about
so then what's the intention of the joke itself then? Like why are
Of
they
the
doing
joke.
it? Because I would almost say in my kind of phrasing that if you're outside of the culture and you're kind of making fun of the culture, it's mean spirited.
Well, we were talking about Jeff Dunham earlier,
Mhm.
and he is certainly mean-spirited. There
Yeah.
are definitely racist and homophobic jokes in his arsenal
Mhm.
that his people find funny. They are not turned off by the mean-spirited of it because they agree with his stance. They agree with his meanness. So
Well,
that
yeah, I agree. I know. We talked about the Klan rally already.
Exactly. So that to me that can't be the area. I mean, if mean-spirited is, I believe that's just a really personal opinion that you happen to hold.
Once
I
you
don't-
shed light on it, I'm saying once you shed light on it, then it takes on the context of mean spiritedness. In the same way that the three of us telling a racist joke that like if we were
I think
if we were
all
racist,
comedy
of
is
course.
mean in some way for the most part.
Okay.
Like there is.
It's not. It's aggressive. I don't know if it's mean.
I don't think it necessarily has to be
doesn't
mean
have to be
because
mean.
there are
Well, yeah,
plenty
you got
of
Brian Regan.
there are plenty of absurdist jokes that are not mean spirit. Like
Yeah.
the intent is not mean in any way, shape, or form.
A lot of that though is the intent is what was this person thinking? That is mean-spirited in a way. That is superiority coming through.
Okay.
Yes
It's a
and no.
stretch. Yeah,
I see what you're saying. But that's
All
if
right,
it's a person.
I'll find a
okay.
different.
Yeah.
I'll find a different term for what it is. I can't at the moment, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying.
Moral
And I
relativism.
absolutely and I'm not suggesting it's the line. I
Yeah.
just think it's part. It's something that factors into that gray area.
and I think it factors in more heavily with you than it does with the majority of people.
How do you mean?
Just like I said, I don't think the majority of people are as turned off by mean-spiritedness as you are specifically. So there are
Oh, maybe not.
audiences
Maybe
that
not.
are built for that. There is entire genres of comedy
Yeah.
that are built around being mean.
Yep.
There is the idea failure is a big part of comedy, and
Yeah.
taking joy in other people's failures is a big part of that. I
Well-
mean, that's what Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin are mainly. They are comic foils foils. They are the butt of our joke, and we are meant to laugh at them. I know on an outside level, Charlie Chaplin is actually aware of that, but the character
That's
Charlie
what I mean,
Chaplin
yeah.
is not supposed to be.
Yeah, but there's
So-
the awareness factor of it where you know it's not. You know that that's there.
I mean, the people watching that didn't, though. The people
You do instinctively.
I don't know. I mean, when movies first came out, people thought that the train was going to come off the tracks and run them over.
I understand.
I don't know that they were that.
And then 20 years later, when Chaplin was doing the stuff, and but even from vaudeville, right? That kind of accentuated element of it. That's what clowns. That's what a clown actually is there for, right? A clown is actually there to mock society. There's the two types of clown, right? There's the August clown, which is kind of the hobo clown, and there's the white-faced clown, which is to make fun of the aristocracy. And those are kind of accentuated elements of it, but they're very obviously aware of it because they're wearing fucking makeup. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's an extreme example, but I think that I don't know that the majority of people make that separation.
They would, because he's coming from vaudeville, and people were very clear of the vaudevillian element of it.
I feel like people still don't understand that most people are characters. I even though we understand it on a conscious level.
Yeah, look at the World Wrestling.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's true though. People, of course, know that those are characters.
Not all.
Most wrestling
They get
fans do
into
know
it.
their
Of course
characters.
they do.
Okay.
Of course they
But
do.
also, there's
a lot of kids
professional
out
wrestling
there.
is such a crazy thing because of the reality of what's going on in terms of how much the wrestlers take on the personas of their characters, and there's so many layers of quote unquote reality to wrestling. It's insane.
So does that deserve an Oscar?
I don't know about
Or
professional
an Emmy,
wrestling.
I guess an Emmy would
Like
be.
so,
The Rock
like,
does.
Yeah, John Cena might get an Oscar one day.
Or an Emmy just as wrestling deserve an Emmy. The Donald, it's so funny too. I'm gonna rip off of John Mulaney. John Mulaney in his recent routine is doing a bit about Donald Trump. Like he'll bring up Donald Trump. And everybody's like boo or starts to pull back, and he's like, he's not a real person. Okay? Donald Trump deserves an Emmy. Okay?
He's playing Trump.
He's a character.
You have no idea. He's just really good. It's almost like if you're watching Family Feud and you start to see the people and you think that they're really smart. You know what I mean? And you think that Family Feud makes you dumber. It's not true. He goes, the more you watch Family Feud, you start to recognize those people who are really good at playing Family Feud, right? So if the question is, hey, what's a type of automobile that would drive to a fire? And the guy dings in real fast, and he's like, fire engine. It's like, holy shit, this guy's fucking really good at this. And it's the same thing with Trump, right? Someone asked the question, right? What are the American people worried about, right? Cruz dings in Benghazi. Trump rings in. He's like, all the problems. Boom, number one answer. Donald Trump is just really good at running for president.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I didn't do it full justice. He does, it's a longer, I did an abbreviated version of it, but in any event,
What is funny?
I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
Not a clue.
I have no idea.
When the politicians keep politicking before you turn to excessive drinking, spend some time collectively politinkering with the show where I don't know, man. 'Cause the truth is, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't know, man.
That's funny.
Good stuff.
Wow. Thanks, James. Really appreciate
thanks a lot,
hanging out
guys.
with us.
All right, have a good one, guys.
Right on.
Thanks, James.
Take it easy.
Nice meeting you, James.
I think we're still recording.
Yeah.